As some of you may know, some of you may not know, Brennan Tatum was on Jubilee, and apparently he he got basically he got ate the hell up. So with no further ado, let's get it.
Get to the bottom of the conversation. If you're 25 and under, the leading cause of death for you is being murdered by another black person. I think the foolish. That is the whole thesis of Up From Slavery. No, it's Did you read the book? I did not read the book. There you go. Then you don't know.
Okay, he don't know jack shit.
Uneducated. To say that Donald Trump is racist is the craziest thing I've heard.
What? Nigga, what?
Have you ever met Donald Trump?
Is systemic racism holding the black community back? Or has it become an excuse to avoid personal responsibility? Now, John was a little too white to handle this topic, so you got me. I'm Paris Rose from Jubilee Media, and this is Surrounded, where one brave soul faces a room full of disagreeers. Today, we're diving into policing in black communities, whether Republicans are better for the black community than Democrats, and the debate over systemic racism. I'm here with our featured guest, former police officer and conservative commentator, Brennan Tatum. I'm so happy to see you today. How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm happy.
All right, you ready to take everyone on?
Oh, we're about to get busy in here. So.
Oh, I'd love to hear. Are you guys ready? Yeah. They sound ready. All right, let's go.
Hi, I'm Officer Tatum, and I'm the host of the Officer Tatum Show, and I'm surrounded by black liberals. My first surrounded claim is Trump and Republicans are better for the black community than Democrats.
Whoa, what? Wait a minute. He wants to say that Trump and the Republican Party are better for black folks than the Democratic Party. Are you high? Seriously, are you high? Yeah, it's gonna be one of them streams.
First debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1. Naima, nice to meet you.
Naima, nice to meet you as well.
Before I do my rebuttal, I would just like to know why you think that.
Well, there's a myriad of reasons. I think that conservative policies are more beneficial to the black community.
No, the hell they are not, Brendan. No, they are not, Brendan. No, they are not. You come out the gate lying. Republican policies have never helped black folks. What the hell are you talking about? You lying sack of shit. Liar.
And I think that policies like limiting immigration or illegal immigration, getting illegal immigrants out of this country, lowering taxes, all benefit black people as a whole. Religious freedom, you name it. Every single policy that I can think about that Republicans have implemented, that they stand for, the values they stand for are all better off for black people than Democrats could ever dream of.
However you okay. But first of all, religious freedom is not just a Republican policy. I just want that's just in the Constitution.
Far more freedom, believing in freedom of religion than Democrats could ever dream of.
Another lie. That's another lie by Brennan Tatum.
I don't want to harp on that. That's in the Constitution. That's just not true. But
every single aspect of life.
But I just want to focus on which one of Trump's policies specifically has been designed to help the black community.
Well,
name one, Brennan.
Has been designed to reverse the effects of over policing from the past.
He has done
lies. He is coming out of the gate lying his ass off. Stop lying, Brandon. For the love of God, Brandon. Stop lying.
The First Step Act, yes it was.
Okay.
To allow for people who were incarcerated with sentencing for drug dealing and less violent crimes for them to have some relief. My uncle got out on the First Step Act.
Okay.
Urban revitalization.
Yeah.
Injecting money into these inner city communities. Permanent funding for HBCUs, which Barack Obama never did. Donald Trump implemented.
Okay.
I mean, I can go down a list. And I think that lowering taxes and all the other benefits that Americans get is also beneficial to black.
So it's funny because I've watched some of your videos, I've heard these talking points before, and I actually looked into all of these, and there's not a ton of quantitative impact on how those have actually affected just the black community. But let's talk about the Republican Party and Trump and his policies as a whole. Do you think that Trump reposting a video in which one of his supporters screams white power was beneficial to the black community.
I'm not familiar with some video that he posted.
Well, I mean,
Really, dumbass? Let's continue.
you should be.
Let's talk about Democrat policy.
You should be.
Let's talk about Democrat
No,
policy.
see, then
See, look. Anytime Brandon gets confronted, you know, gets a question that he doesn't like, Brandon always wants to move the goalpost. Always. Every time he's faced with a question that he doesn't like, he always wants to move the goalpost. You little bitch.
no, now you're obfuscating. You are the one who has the burden. No, I'm sorry. I do not want to be interrupted.
It says right here
I do not want to be
that
interrupted.
Trump and
You are the
Republicans
one.
are better than the
Yes,
Democrat
exactly.
policy.
So the burden.
Show the proof then, Brandon. If that's your position, show the proof. If you do not have the proof, shut the hell up.
The proof is on
It's not
you.
doing that. That's
Yes.
wow.
No, this is how a debate works. You've made a
you're
claim
saying
that
that.
you have to substantiate. And
Thank you. And this young lady is cooking the piss out of Brandon.
you have yet to do that.
I am wrong. So how are you correct in that Democrat policies are better than Republican
Well,
policies?
actually, do you want to know my personal belief is that the Democrats are fundamentally kind of apathetic to the needs of black people, while Republicans are openly antagonizing the black community.
Give me an example.
So, I mean, so an
What policy
example.
position is negative towards black people that Republicans implement?
Trump this year intentionally got rid of the disparate impact analysis. So what the disparate impact analysis does is that it analyzes laws that were made neutrally, policies that were intended to be neutral, to make sure that there were not any racial disparities as an effect of that policy, right? Accidentally. So Trump has removed the protection for the disparate impact analysis. So we don't know if the policies that we're enacting are disproportionately hurting the black community or not.
That doesn't make any sense. Any policy.
doesn't make any sense. I agree.
What
It's a
you're
bad
saying
idea.
does not make any sense because the policies that are implemented,
Yes.
the majority of the ones that are in Congress are agreed upon by the House and the Senate,
Right.
Democrats and Republicans.
Yes.
And so with that being said, there's black people represented, there's
Yes,
all kinds of
well,
people
that's the
represented
point.
in creating our laws and
I know, but
policies.
that's the point.
So
But
what are you
not
saying that
everything-
they're not considering
But
whether or
here's-
not it has a desperate effect on black
So
the black
here's the
community?
thing. When you create a policy, obviously you are creating it in good faith. But we do not know always how that policy is going to affect the
Give me an
population.
example of a
Can I
policy.
finish
Give
talking?
me an example of policy.
But
Let
I'm
her
trying to-
finish,
One at a
Brandon.
time.
So the point of the
Let her
disparate
finish,
analysis report
Brandon.
is to check to make sure that the laws that we implement in good faith don't end up hurting the black community by accident. Why would you get rid of that?
Why do you think he got rid of it?
Because
according
he's
to you?
racist.
To say that Donald Trump is racist is the craziest thing I've heard.
Donald Trump, oh my
Dude, really? You gonna say that stupid shit? You stupid son of a bitch. You really are that damn stupid.
Have you ever met Donald Trump personally?
No.
You don't know him.
No, so
Why
you've
would you
met
say
Donald
I've
Trump.
met Donald Trump several times?
So you're basing his whether or not he's racist
You
just
don't
on
have any
your
evidence.
personal.
You're saying because he allegedly got rid of some desperate impact analysis that somehow that has something to do with race and it only affects black
But
people.
your evidence is anecdotal. Oh, Trump was nice to me one
Give me-
time,
I
therefore
have
he's
no-
not a
I have
racist.
no evidence to
Of
believe
course
that
he's
Trump
nice
is
to you
racist.
because you are
Where's the
excusing
evidence that
his
Trump is racist?
racism. Okay, I'll
Where's
give
it?
you more evidence.
Give me-
In
give me-
1973, his company was sued for violating the Fair Housing Act by openly discriminating against
Which
black
is true.
renters.
What was the findings of that?
He was actually forced to settle.
He was forced to settle.
Yes, he was forced to settle. No,
He settled.
Why
He
would someone
settled.
settle
Was it
if they
finding
were
of
not
fault?
guilty?
Brand-
Why would some?
Brandon, you lying jackass. He settled. Him and his dad, Fred Trump, settled. Okay? Stop lying.
unsettled if he
Saying,
wasn't
why
doing
would,
it.
was there a determination in
Yes,
court that
he
he was
was
at fault?
also forced to.
No. Was
yes.
there a determination in court that he was at fault?
He settled, so they didn't have a determination in court. He got out of it by settling, which is what you do when you are guilty, but you don't want to go to court.
That's not the
Yes,
way our
that is
that's
exactly
not the
what
way
the
the
point of
system works.
settling is. Yes.
No, it's
You do not understand. Just because you are a cop, Brandon, does not mean you know how the legal system works. And from what I see here, you got cooked by every damn person that came in front of you, as you should.
Yes.
He had a dissent decree, which they agreed that he would implement certain things in his organization. There was no fault granted. They did not prove.
What were the things that he had to implement in his company?
Recruiting. It was a form of it was that
I think you're thinking about a different lawsuit against the Trump administration.
He had to make sure that they have job applications available to minority.
See, Brandon don't know what he's talking about here, cause he's an idiot. He don't read. He don't educate himself. He just goes by his talking points.
No, this
Idiot.
wasn't about Trump. This was about the Trump Corporation, the real estate. Yes, they
I
violated the
don't-
Fair Housing Act
well,
because
we talking about something
I think,
different.
well, there were
because
2 times he was sued for racism.
I only know one time.
Yeah,
he
well,
had a
you should
dissent.
learn about the other one because
I
it
don't
was
think-
bad too. Yes.
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
I don't think you know
The
what you're
dissent
talking
decree, which was established, there was no findings of Donald Trump being a racist, and his organization has been without fault.
No, that was.
You cannot find a court
That's
document that says that Donald Trump officially discriminated against anybody.
He literally marked.
What's your next one?
He literally marked black applicants.
What's your next one? What's your next
Okay.
example of Trump being a racist?
And look, and look at Brennan having moved the goalposts. Have to move the goalposts.
When he reposted the Obamas as monkeys.
Now,
Yeah, he did.
already said. He already said
Oh.
that he did not post that. It was somebody on his staff, and the post wasn't even about that. That was a
Bro,
real.
it was
that
on
a real,
his
that was
account.
And
He
then when it
posted
came
it.
out, he denounced it. He said it was wrong.
It was on his account.
No, he
also.
didn't.
One of
How
the staffers
is-
posted it.
Why would one of his staffers even have that? Even if it wasn't
You're making
him,
the
why
post
would
sound
he
like
not
the post was
post it?
about that. It was a meme created by somebody else.
Are you really defending depicting black people as monkeys? Like, that's crazy.
And Hillary
That's
Clinton.
crazy.
And Hillary Clinton was.
Oh, and now
was
you
a
gonna point
pig,
it-
And it was all kind of people depicted as animals. It
Yeah.
wasn't just about Barack Obama. Did Donald Trump?
Bro,
Any
shut
other
up.
president done that?
Shut
No.
up, Brandon. Shut up,
Any other
Brandon.
president done that
You're
ever?
blaming him. Did Donald Trump make the
You
video?
I don't
damn
know if he
clown.
doesn't matter. It's about what he
denounced?
posts.
Did he denounce what they represented?
If I posted something that said kill all of X people, that's what I believe,
No,
right?
that's not true.
Even if
Somebody-
I didn't type it out,
That's not
and
true.
put it in Canva and then post it,
If somebody
it's
posted,
still what I
If
believe.
somebody posted something offensive on your account and you denounce it, is that a fair statement to say you don't believe in it?
No, I don't think that's true. I would like to be held accountable. If
He
somebody,
said he didn't believe
if I
it.
hired someone to post on my behalf and they posted racist statements,
And you said
that would be on
and
me.
you took it down,
No,
and
I have
you
to
told
pause
them,
here. I'm sorry.
and you said to the world you don't believe that to be
Officer
true.
Tatum, we have to pause here. All right, you have been voted out by the majority. Thank you so much for your time.
With Rula, your therapy sessions are affordable and covered by insurance.
From the celebrity stories to who showed up at our practice, and dude, I mean, I got to throw.
Pause here. All right, you have been voted out by the majority. Thank you so much for your time. If you would like to be the next debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
So, I'd like to talk about Trump and the Republicans, not specifically on Trump, but focusing upon the history of the Republican Party because he's just the latest iteration of that, okay?
Yeah, that's just
So, the Republican Party has a proven track record of giving platforms to sellouts who promote a message that harms black people.
who is that? Who is the sellout that you give me an example?
Well, there are actually quite a few, but I'll start with the
Well, let's
earliest
start with this
example.
premise. The first black legislators,
Right.
or the first black people in Congress that was represented were all Republicans.
Right. So let me explain that to you.
Is that a fact pattern?
Right, yes. So basically what happened is the last of the radical Republicans, which was a segment of the Republican Party that passed the 14th Amendment, all of the amendments that gave black people the right to
Talk
vote,
to him.
ensured that slaves would not be
Talk to him.
disenfranchised. He died in August 11th.
No. Black people, I mean, Republicans
Let me explain.
unanimously voted.
He died in 1868 when the 14th Amendment was passed. And then guess what?
As a whole,
Right,
voted unanimously. Democrats did not.
See,
Right,
why?
after the
See,
radical
Brennan is
Republican
being
faction
disingenuous right now.
Yes, they were a historic. No. That's a title. They were a historic.
Who was the radical Republican faction?
They were a
And Brennan is being so disingenuous once again.
segment of the Republican Party that created Thaddeus Stevens. He's an example. They are the ones who created the Freedmen's Bureau, which was designed to assimilate ex-slaves into the national citizenry. After they left, the Republican Party constructed an oligarchy, which we call the Gilded Age, and in which we saw the fate of black people decline. Black home ownership declines. Black voting
It
declines.
is.
Fact check you on
All
this.
of that.
The Republicans unanimously voted.
No, not after that.
Let me fit. The Republicans unanimously voted for the 13th, 14th, and 15th
Yes,
Amendment.
under the leadership of the radical Republicans, and they were
Republicans
progressives.
unanimously voted for the Civil Rights Act.
Yes, and then after the radical Republicans left, they stopped doing that.
When did the radical Republicans leave? You said the radical Republicans.
1868, the last person died.
And he's right. It was 1868 they left.
Let me get back to what I was saying. No. You're bulldozing and you're steamrolling. You don't want to hear what I have to say.
Just answer the question, Brennan, instead of trying to dismiss the man. Answer the question.
Listen to what I have to say.
Civil Rights Act.
Listen to what I have to say. You can respond to it, okay?
I want you to answer that question.
Booker T. Washington was fated by the white racist establishment. He had tea at Windsor Castle by Queen Victoria. He met Susan B. Anthony. He was allowed to create the Tuskegee Institute because he was promoting this myth of personal responsibility, which harms black people.
The most successful documented black man lifted so many black people from poverty to success was Booker T. Washington.
No, he did not. Jim Crow, the institutionalization of Jim Crow was a direct result of his false message.
What was his false message?
His message was that black people were not fit to participate in the political process.
That's not true.
Because slavery had set them backwards.
Where did
And
you
so
see
all of
that
the black
Booker T. Washington
congressmen,
message
it's in his book.
You said he mentioned that black people were not fit to put.
Yes, that is the whole thesis of Up From Slavery.
No, it's
Did
not.
you read the book?
I did not read the book.
There you go. Then you
Okay,
know
D,
what
don't
you're
know a
talking
damn
about. Let me
thing.
tell you something, brother. I am a history teacher.
Brandon, if you didn't read the book, you don't know a damn thing. Shut up, dumbass.
Let me finish
I
what I'm
teach
saying.
in the public school
Let me
system.
finish
You
what I'm
are
saying.
uneducated.
Let me finish what I'm saying. You cannot
You don't know what you're talking about.
If you're telling me that Republicans did not
You
unanimously
are-
13, 14,
You are being
the Civil Rights
you are
Act.
being given
You
a
cannot tell me you're a
platform
teacher
as a
and you are
token,
not, and you
and
do
you
not
are
understand.
You are lying about
You're
the
not
historical
talking
record.
to each other. We can't hear anything either you're saying.
He's not allowing me to make a single point.
Because I'm making points.
No, because you're afraid
Of what?
of the truth.
I just
That's
explained
what,
to you.
when
I just
You're
you
afraid of
when
the truth.
you earn a living off of lies, you are afraid of the
Give
truth.
me a lie that I'm told.
The idea that Republican policies benefited black people, and that
I
is
just
not
gave
true.
you Republican
No,
policies.
let me give you an example.
Give me examples that they've hurt black people.
I'll give you an example. During the Hoover administration, 43% of the black people who were employed in domestic work. And the reason for that is because they were shut out of truly gainful employment. And the
And they
segment
were.
that was hurt the most were black men. Black women could get jobs as maids and things of that sort. But black men, any job that gave them the opportunity for social dignity, value, and worth, they were systematically denied. And a lot of it had to do with Booker T. Washington's message. Now, guess what?
Booker T. Washington's
Message has been harmful.
that I have.
You have not read the
read
book.
portions of his message.
No, read the whole
I
book.
will read the whole book. But you cannot sit here and tell me that Booker T. Washington's message was
It hurt
disenfranchising
black
black
people. And guess what?
That's not true.
Guess what he acknowledges in his
So
book?
the Tuskegee
He acknowledges.
Institute was
Yes,
detrimental to black
guess
people.
what he said?
No. Was the
Yeah,
Tuskegee
yes, it was. And let me
Institute
tell you
detrimental to black
why. He acknowledged that
That is
the
insane.
people in Tuskegee, Alabama, the white community there, only allowed him to create that institute because he assured them he would not be teaching them anything that would lift them out of domestic status, anything that pertained to higher education, any knowledge of their history, or just the humanities, anything that white people took for granted in normal universities. It was designed to keep black people oppressed. That was the point.
Up from slavery. Booker T. Washington had a message of black success and personal accountability and responsibility.
And it's
he
a
did
lie.
not
And it's a
depend
lie.
on the government to do the things that black people
Yes,
had
he
already
did
do.
deny on the government.
He did not.
Yes, he
did
did.
not make his mission and his plan to
Yes,
say
he
that
did.
black people should depend on the government.
This is the lie
That is a
for
lie.
everybody who is listening to me. The lie is that black people should focus solely upon family and their economic status and ignore agitations
It's
for
not
social
ignoring, it's
social
prioritizing.
equality. No,
It's
and he actually
prioritizing the
says,
family,
he actually says in that
personal
book
responsibility.
that agitations for social equality are the extremist folly because black people are not prepared to be social equals to white people. He actually says that. That has been the program of the Republican Party ever since
First
then.
of all, that's a lie.
And now, guess what else
That's a
happened? So, after
Why did the Democrats have, until Cory Booker recently, had the longest filibuster against the Civil Rights Act?
I'll tell you why.
Longest in
So
history.
basically, what
Besides the
happened
recent one.
is prior to that act, there were a number of Dixiecrats who were the inheritors.
Racist Democrats.
I'll tell you, the inheritors of slavery, chattel slavery, and then the Jim Crow era that
Racist
took its
Democrats.
place. Guess what? After those acts, the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act were passed, guess
Unanimously
what?
by Republicans.
Yet there was a 20 to 30% shift away from the Democratic Party into the Republican Party. And then, surprisingly, Nixon begins his war on drugs, which is a part of his law and order program. And guess what happens? Black people become 6 to 7 times higher to be arrested for drug abuse versus white people. They are mass incarcerating us.
Which
and
is
it
what
direct-
he's-
it is
what
direct
this guy's
to
saying is
Republican
right.
policies.
Okay, we have to pause here. You have been voted out by the majority. Thank you so much.
Three major U.S. prediction markets on one platform at Interactive Brokers. Trade the best available prediction market price.
So, default. US. Out by the majority. Thank you so much. If you would like to be the next debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1.
Watch out.
So, your claim is that Trump and Republicans are better for the black community than Democrats.
Yes.
Okay. I think that claim is patently false, and let me explain why. Take the institution of voting, the most sacred thing that the Constitution protects, something that we need for elected officials to represent us. Repeatedly, Republicans have used the judiciary to discriminate against black people in voting.
Yes, they have.
We have cases like Louisiana versus Calais. The recent case that in 2026 has caused all the redistricting crisis that you see right now. And when you see the effects of that for the black community, the Congressional Black Caucus is set to lose 16 to 19%, or it's not 16 to 19 members, 30% of its representation. Regardless of anything that you are saying communities should be doing, you have to still elect people to represent you to make those policy decisions. And let me finish. I'm going to
Okay, I'll let
finish.
you finish.
If you are erasing the ability for people to have that representation, and you're making it even harder to vote, like decisions like Shelby v. Holder, which makes it harder to eliminate discriminatory laws, or you have cases like Brnovich v. DNC, which are striking the ability to challenge laws that we think are discriminatory for mail-in voting. It's not good and it's not reasonable to say that Republicans are representing black people's
Let me
interests.
put this in simplistic terms. Voting is a sacred right.
Yes.
Right? And black people were afforded voting rights, which we all should fight for. Having voter ID is protecting that sacred right. That black people will make sure that black people can actually vote without being eliminated in their voting power by illegal aliens.
This goes beyond.
Let me go point by point.
Wait.
Want to
This
allow
goes way beyond.
aliens
This goes
to
way
vote
beyond.
in the election.
This goes way beyond
And they
voter
don't
ID. You
use
simply
elections.
don't want. They simply don't want people who are black to be elected.
How is that possible?
Because majority minority districts were created by the Voting Rights Act of 1965. That specific piece of legislation, which Republicans have repeatedly targeted through decades, has said, hey, there was history done here that harmed people, and as a way to make up for it slowly over time, we need to designate specific areas, black populous areas, to have accurate representation
And what
of
did the
folks.
Supreme Court rule?
The Supreme Court ruled that, hey, actually, no, you guys don't need this representation. This is unconstitutional.
Race.
Certainly you can. You can't
You cannot based on race.
You cannot deny black people from having the right to vote and represent themselves.
Let me explain.
Because you have white people in Louisiana versus Calais. That's what the case is.
Okay, yeah, pause here. Let Officer Tatum speak.
Okay, this is the problem here. You are assuming that black people can only vote for Democrats.
I didn't assume
Yes,
that.
you are, because
No,
the
I
redistricting-
didn't. Where did I say that?
Because
when did I say
I'm
that?
saying you're insinuating that.
I'm not
because
insinuating
you
that
cannot draw lines of demarcation based on race. That is against the United States Constitution. They ruled that, which is why they had to redraw lines. Black people have a right to vote for anybody that they want that acts in the best interest of the black community or the community at large. It doesn't have to always be Democrats.
There's a reason why black people vote for Democrats, and there's a reason why there's only five elected Republicans in Congress that are
This is
black.
the problem in the black community today. The consistency of voting for these Democrats who ain't done nothing for black people and still haven't. We're to this day, many people that are sitting around here are still complaining about the plight against the black people, but y'all still vote for Democrats. And Democrats have been elected in office for the majority of the time in the last decade.
Republicans
And
have done
what have
way.
they done?
Republicans
Nothing for black people.
Republicans have done way more damaging things, even just
That is
as of
not true.
as
Give
of
me an
recent.
example.
Just recently with Doge, we had the highest exodus of black women in the federal workforce. I'm not sure if you're not aware of that information, but wait, I'm not sure if you're aware of that information. But black
cutting spending.
and cutting spending for social services, increasing poverty, increasing crime, increasing debt, and harming people over and over again who are doing nothing to help the black community and trying to perpetuate a policy platform that insists that black people need to be put down is not
That
going
is
to
a
move
lie.
people forward.
That is a lie.
Absolutely
You are
not.
saying that we're going to cut government spending, but we should leave all the black people there because they're black.
No, we should increase government spending by taxing the rich, funding our communities, and putting peddlers in jail instead of putting people in power.
Taxing the rich is a foolish statement by you. What do you mean by taxing the rich?
We in California have already seen.
That's why people leave in California.
Oh, wait.
That's why business owners are leaving here.
In California,
Companies are leaving. They're fleeing.
in California, even in the basic past, when we taxed the rich, we were able to fund the University of California systems. And what did Ronald Reagan do? Ronald Reagan said, let's slash that because black people need to suffer, communities need to go down. And what do we know? Now we have budget. No, now we have budget deficits affecting our systems. We have laws from the 1970s still
Let's
on
talk
the
about
books
taxing
affecting.
the rich.
Oh, wait.
That is a lie.
We can talk about taxes too. Let's go.
Are still selling black folks to this day.
That.
Taxing the rich they're not going to change the tax code. So taxing the rich is a myth. Would you benefit more financially if you left California?
Depends on how I use my money because I'm a smart person.
It doesn't matter about being smart because the taxes are out of control.
I think money and how you manage it as your person, and when we talk about
All right,
personal
we have to
responsibility.
pause
Manage money,
here.
so you're still going to be
We
less
do have to pause it
successful
here.
here
You've been voted
financially.
out by the majority. Thank you so much.
Pleasure talking with you.
When the shelves are empty, the tanks run dry, and hospitals run out of supplies, someone has to keep the world moving. That's you. In Highway Heroes, you're the one coordinating the entire operation and directing.
Out by the majority. Thank you so much.
Pleasure talking with you.
If you would like to be the next debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I wanted to ask, just in terms of him refusing to sign not only the Affordable Housing Act, but also refusing to sign the bipartisan 2024 bill when it comes to putting more money on our borders, right? Because you talked about immigration. Why would he refuse these acts if, in reality, if we put more money there, we would have more officers and less fear, and we would be able to actually have legal immigration streamlined more cleanly? Because the question is not, don't have, like, I'm guessing you're not against immigration, you're against illegal immigration, or tell me more.
For the most part, I'm against illegal immigration, but I also believe we need to measure how much immigration we're actually allowing in this country when people in America have needs that we need to address.
How do you measure that?
We allow 1 million immigrants legally in the United States of America every single year, and we all in here care about the issues that go on in the black community. I would argue that black people need the financial support that we're giving these immigrants that are coming over here. I think it's not right.
Illegal immigrants actually don't get federal support.
They do get federal support.
Illegal immigrants, fact check that. Illegal immigrants do not have federal support. But actually,
Barely.
what I will say is that immigrants overall pay taxes. Illegal immigrants do not get federal
get
support.
access to
Illegal
social
or
programs.
immigrants?
They get access
Illegal
to
immigrants or
Medicare.
immigrants?
They get access to all immigrants, but illegal immigrants.
No,
do
they
as well.
don't. No, they don't, Brandon. No, they don't, Brandon.
Bills are not
You're
isolated.
lying.
It's got a bunch of minutia.
You're lying,
a bunch of
Brandon.
spending that he doesn't agree with, and the Republicans don't agree with.
What did he not agree with?
All of those bills have
No, actually, a
access
lot of
spending.
Republicans, it was a bipartisan bill.
And Brandon is still lying.
Well, then why? Well, you tell me why he didn't sign it.
No, I'm asking
No,
you.
you tell me why he didn't sign it.
I'm asking you.
You're saying that he's doing it because he's
No,
racist.
I'm not saying. I didn't say that. Why are you putting one to? I genuinely am trying to ask you why didn't he?
The bill is not just singularly about border patrol.
But
It's
okay,
not.
we're talking about healthcare.
You have to
By
pause here.
2034, 10 million Americans are gonna lose their healthcare.
I'm so sorry. Thank you both so much.
So that's
Love the passion, though.
Time moves fast, but your credit score doesn't have to stay stuck. I remember how overwhelmed I felt trying to fix my credit. It felt like a catch-22, where you need credit to build credit. Then I found Kickoff. Signing up took minutes on my phone with no credit check and no hidden fees. For users with credit under 600, they see an average growth of 86 points. Kickoff
Come
helps
on.
you score big when it comes to credit. Plans start at just $5 a month with zero interest.
I
Start
can't
building
skip
credit
it.
with Kickoff today and get your first month for as little as $1. That's 80% off the normal price when you go to getkickoff.com/surrounded today. That's kickoff without the C. Get KIKOFF.com/surrounded.
Plus, sign up at getkickoff.com/surrounded to activate offer. Offer applies to new kickoff customers first month only. Subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Average first year credit score plus 86 points between August 2024 and August 2025. For kickoff credit, users who started with a score below 600 will pay on time and have no delinquencies or collections added to their credit profile during the period. Late payments may negatively impact credit score. Individual results may vary.
Thank you to Kickoff for sponsoring this episode. Now let's get back to the show.
My next surrounded claim is that police officers do more good in the black community than harm.
All right, if you would like to be the next debater,
And I'm 50-50 on that one, bro. I gotta be honest.
get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
I want to hear why you think that police do more good in the black communities than harm.
Well, when you look at the functionality of law enforcement, meaning that the people who perpetuate crime in the black community are arrested by law enforcement officers, removing them from the community, removing the predators, the drug dealers, and all of that.
Now, does Brandon not know that the police actually came in the South, actually came from slave patrol in the South and out west to people's committees? Or does he not know that?
From the community, which is a good thing. And I cannot name other things that are harmful that outweigh all of the good that the police officers do.
How did the police first come about?
Be more
Slave
detailed.
patrol.
That's
Slave
not
patrol.
true.
Yeah, it's
the police,
literally
that's two
fact
different
check it.
functionalities.
Fact check it.
Check it.
Is
That is true. The police came from the slave patrol in the South and from the People's Committee in the West. Don't lie, Brandon.
That's two different functionalities.
the origins
You're talking about
of
slave
policing,
patrols
the
and
origin
modern day
of-
policing is completely different.
The origins of policing
not true.
within the United States of America.
That is
from the
true,
slave patrol.
Brandon.
Still use the same badges.
That's not true.
The same, the
That's not
stars on the badge.
That's not
fine. That's
the
fine.
functionality of slave patrols and the jurisdiction that
I'm not
slave
talking about
patrols
functionality.
had
I'm
versus
talking
the
about
functionality and jurisdiction of law enforcement
derived
is
from
completely
the
different.
entire premise
That's
of
not true.
slave patrol. That's fine. That's fine.
That's not
Listen, okay, cool. So, you don't think there's an issue with policing in the black community?
No.
You don't think there's an issue with stop and frisk?
No.
You don't think that there's an issue with like flock cameras and geo-tracking?
No.
Got it. Okay,
I think
cool.
it helps eliminate crime.
Sure. Have you ever heard of the Veil of Darkness study?
No, I have not.
Okay. The Veil of Darkness study was a study that was completed where 95 million traffic stops were actually checked across the United States of America. Vast pool, right? The methodology accounted for the time of day, for traffic, location, different shifts. Would you like to know what they found in that study when it came to policing and black people?
That black people commit more traffic violations than other people.
No.
That
That
is true.
black people were stopped for more traffic violations. Hold on, I got you.
Because they commit
I
more
got
traffic
you.
violations.
You don't know the study. How are you going to answer?
I know what other studies and statistical data points show.
Okay, then give me another
That's
study
why.
that
That's
actually.
why.
Oh, sure.
You
Let me
think
finish.
just
Let me
pull a black
finish.
people over just because they see
Yes.
a black person driving down the
Literally,
street? That's
the
not
Veil
true.
of Darkness.
And of course, Tatum is not going to get this point.
Study,
no
the
evidence
Veil
that-
of Darkness
none.
study that was done by Stanford and backed up by the CDC actually showed that what happens is during the day, police officers use racial bias because they can
not true.
see people.
That's not true.
and
They do use racial bias.
Made a traffic
I'm
stop in your
literally
life.
gonna finish. I'm literally
I'm
gonna
gonna let you finish.
They pull black people over during the day at a disproportionate rate than white people, but at nighttime, when you can't see and it's harder to tell someone's actual race, then the average drops and it equals out.
Okay, let
They
me tell you
actually
why.
found that in the study 95 million traffic violations that when you can't see someone's race, you focus on the traffic violations versus the day
tell you
you
why
focus on the
let me
people.
tell you why your study is flawed. For one reason, I was a police officer many years. I do traffic stops during the day, and you cannot always tell the race of a person during the day, no matter what. Secondary,
I agree.
They're secondary. When you are patrolling, majority of the black people that you engage with live in what? Black communities.
Over police.
So you're gonna make an excuse. We can get to that.
I'm not making an
You're making an
excuse,
excuse.
I'm just telling you.
When you're in a black community, you only have options to pull over
Give me
black
any
people.
type of
Let me finish.
empirics that
Let me-
disagrees with the Veil of
let
Darkness
me-
study.
Let me finish. I believe that there's clearly a flaw in what you're saying this study represents.
Sure.
Because
How can you
in the
critique
black
methodology if
community,
you haven't looked at it?
in the black community, I have plenty of other
You gotta trust me, bros.
touch. I did it for a living.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you
story,
did
bro.
not. So
Like I've looked at the information.
I'm telling you why the study. I'm telling you why the
Do you
study is
think your
wrong.
one-off experience is
I'm telling you-
indicative of all
I'm
policing
telling you,
around
I'm
the
telling
country?
you why your study is off. When you're looking at patrolling in black neighborhoods, you cannot. How are you going to make a fair comparison of how many white people pulled over versus black people when there's only black people present in the black neighborhood? The veil of darkness cannot get in the minds of a police officer and determine whether or not the police officer pulled a person over because of their color or the violation.
It literally
does
shows.
not-
If you look at the
doesn't
data
get
set,
in the mind and prove that a cop was looking at a black man and racially targeting
Veil
him.
of Darkness study, it shows not only the reason why they were pulled over, but it shows the ones that were thrown
How
out.
do you know the
They
reason why
were
they pulled over?
disproportionately pulled over,
Disproportionality
and disproportionately
does not
pulled over,
speak to whether or
and
not
there
it's
was a
malicious.
disproportion of black violations that were thrown out.
It doesn't matter.
Why?
Disproportionality
Why
does
is
not.
it so many black people pulled over and
because
then
they
so
are
many of the
fully-
violations were thrown out?
You gotta look at it like this. If you're looking at traffic stops across the country, different jurisdictions have different mandates and they have different standards for what they throw out as traffic violations. So you cannot make a generalization
You know
across
what's
the entire
consistent?
country.
Yes, you can. You know what's
No, you
consistent
cannot.
across the entire country? White supremacy.
That's
White supremacy
How is
is
white supremacy
consistent
have anything to do
across
with a traffic stop?
it's literally racism.
you are
They're literally trained
You're projecting
to
your
actually
bias.
go.
Tell me how they train. Have you been through police training?
No, I have not.
I went to police training.
Sure, cool story.
And they do not teach discrimination
Why is it that
in police training.
police officers spend more time in black neighborhoods
They're committing
disproportionately?
more crimes.
They're not.
Yes, they are.
Who commits the most
Why?
violent crimes in America today?
Per capita, black.
Not per capita, period.
I like black people do.
No, white people.
No,
White men
that's
specifically.
a lie.
FBI data. Fact check it.
Fact-
FBI data shows that
over
white men
That's not
specifically commit the most violent crime in the
That's not
United
true.
States of America. If you're talking
Yeah,
about
fact
property crimes,
No, that's
yes,
not
it's black
property crime.
people.
I'm talking about violent crimes.
Violent crimes is
Violent
white men,
crime.
including CSAM. White men, if you can talk per capita with CSAM,
Come on, they gonna fact
you can
check
talk numbers. White men disproportionately represent
Murder rate.
CSAM and violent crime.
Murder rate and violent crimes disproportionately
Do you believe in
represented in the black
1350?
All right, we're gonna have to pause here, so I'm glad you guys took a pause. You have been voted out. Thank you so much.
Give me 10 minutes.
She's making up stats.
If you would like to to be the next debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1.
With Rula, your mental health care is covered by insurance and transparent upfront pricing.
This way, guy. Hello, Moto.
Everything I heard, everything I've listened to thus far, you're full of shit. You're a police
About time
officer.
somebody told him that.
Said that wasn't true.
Let me get to it.
Give me somebody
I
that
don't
said it
think
wasn't true.
anybody here would disagree that good policing is bad. We're talking about bad policing. We're talking about bullshit policing. We're talking about the kind of policing that puts gentlemen like you and me in prison for unjust crimes. You like to cite that you're a police officer. Let me cite my professional background.
I was officially.
Let me cite my professional
I have been in that
background.
profession.
10 years writing policy in government
You
at
weren't a
the
police
local
officer.
and
But you weren't
state
a
of
police
California levels. And
You never arrested anybody.
You didn't write policy. I did.
I enforced the law.
So, okay, I write the law.
you don't enforce the law.
You don't enforce the law.
I
You don't
enforce the
enforce the
law.
law appropriately.
You just made it
You
up.
like to use one-offs. Let me use a one-off.
You only use one of them. Just make
In the
it up.
city of San Diego, there was a black police officer that sued the San Diego Police Department
Anecdotal.
with regard to, bro, all day you've been coming up with me. Now
I got
it's
some
and
data points. Where do you want to go?
Like, I need you to keep that same
Black
energy,
people
bro.
commit
I need you to
over
keep
half
the
of all
same
violent
energy.
crimes.
And that's the problem with black conservatives like yourself. You don't know how to keep the same
just
energy.
talking emotionally.
It was me,
Give me some
me,
facts.
me. Well, I'm trying to get you facts.
Come on with it.
You're supposed to be a police officer. Hold your head, bro. Hold your head. You interrupted everybody, bro. I got
You're
one,
here to
2, 3
debate me.
minutes.
I'm not here to listen to you
So,
talk in circles.
you talking like you was a state trooper, you was a Secret
I know
Service.
cops. I know cops all across
Okay,
the country.
but I did too.
I know policy. I know
I
all
do
that.
too.
I get to your point.
You don't know policy because you never written one. He
We're
said
talking
not.
about policing in the black community. We're not talking
I
about
want to
policy
hold
right
you to account because police officers like you don't like accountability. So I want to hold you to account. I'm trying to get my story out, and if I can finish my story.
It's not story time, man. The point is, police
The
do
point,
more good.
the point was,
Police do more
the point
good
was, with
in the
regard
black
to
community.
training, the San Diego Police Department showed a video training officers of that department depicting black people as primary perpetrators of crime. That's not true. My last guy that was just up here, who commits the most crimes in America is white people. Name me the last black mass murderer in America. That shot up schools,
It happened in
malls.
the hood every day.
I didn't ask about the hood. Mass
That's a
murder.
mass shooting, bro. Go to Chicago to 4th
What's the
of July.
definition of a mass
It's a mass
shooter?
shooting.
What's the definition of a mass
People
shooter?
shot. It's a mass shooting, according to the FBI. I can tell you to go to any inner city in the United States of America and go just this past weekend, and you've seen multiple mass shootings that occurred in that community. I don't know them by name.
I can cite you Columbine. I can cite you Sandy Hook.
You're talking about a shooting isolated at a school. We're talking about violence. We're talking about murder rates. Black people commit over half of all murders in this country. Is that true or not?
That's not true.
It is
That's
true. What are you
California.
saying?
All right, but you have to pause here.
Black people commit disproportionate amounts and over half of all violent crimes in this country.
Okay, Officer Tatum, both of you guys, we have to stop here because you've been voted out. Thank you so much for your time. If you would like to be the next debater, get to that hot seat in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's up, bro?
I would argue that the resources, that the cost of hiring a police officer could be significantly better used in revitalizing the black community rather than affording more cops. As you've seen in the city of New York, when they increased the amount of funding they're putting in schools, when they increased having childcare for people, when they increased training for people to get jobs, they saw the lowest crime rate that they've seen in years.
Right, this is where I think we can agree on. We gotta walk and chew gum at the same time. As we see resources provided and crime go down, then we can begin to shrink the availability of law enforcement in that said community. You don't do one before the other. You can't just say, I'm gonna take resources from the law enforcement officers. Crime will go out of control. If I was to concede to your point, we need to see these crime statistics begin to decrease. Therefore, you can justify decreasing law enforcement. You cannot think that because you build a park, that somebody ain't gonna be shooting and acting a fool in the hood. That is a generational thing that's gonna have to happen. And right now, we still got people out today that don't give a F about a park. We've seen plenty of cases that people have built incredible schools, they built parks, roadways, ability to activities for people, and they still out here cutting up. And a lot of it is the way people are raised, the culture that people are embracing. And I would argue that black people are embracing that wasn't even black culture to start with. Those things need to be addressed, and they are the most detrimental to the black community than even funding and defunding police.
And I hear you, but I still agree that.
All right, we're gonna have to pause here. I'm so sorry you have been voted out by the majority.
I've said this many times before that my greatest lessons have been articulated by you. I had to learn them myself, but they were articulated by you.
If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
I just want to take a second to acknowledge that you're being roasted and you're being very polite about it. So thank you for that.
I'm doing what?
I say you're getting roasted right now, but you're being very polite about it, and I appreciate that.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your conceding to my arguments. Okay.
I wouldn't say that, but okay. So you're familiar with broken window policing, right?
I'm familiar in part.
Yeah, just for people that don't know, it's just the uniform enforcement of both significant and insignificant laws, right? And I think we can both agree that there are laws in this country that shouldn't exist, right? Or just
give me an example, because I can't speak to it if I don't know what you're talking about.
Marijuana, right? Like in the state of Texas, if you're caught with marijuana, you can be a felon, right? I think we can both agree that that's done.
I don't agree to that. I mean, people vote on it and they pass what the majority believe. I don't agree to that.
Sure.
I think in some cases marijuana should be illegal. I think medical marijuana should be legal. I mean, obviously.
Well, yeah, sure, but I think all marijuana, but I think we can both agree that if you have like a felony conviction, that stunts your ability to earn and provide for your family, right?
Yeah, you knew that before you committed the felony, right?
Yeah, but like I think certain laws. Well, first of all,
you're talking felonies. You're not talking misdemeanors. Felonies are very intense things that you do that cause you to get a felony. It's not just having weed on you.
Yeah, not exactly. Because if you're caught with a wax pen, right, that can be considered a felony equivalent to if you had like cocaine or something like that.
Depending on what state you're in.
Yeah, depending on the state.
If that's the case, but
right,
you know that
federally as well.
You know that before you do it.
Sure.
And so you make the decision. Everybody in here make the decision. They're not going to do that because you don't want a felony on the record because you want to be successful and be able to get a job. Is that fair?
But that's
personal responsibility.
But let's interrogate the central claim. You're saying that police in black communities do more good than harm, right? So if you're caught smoking a blunt on your porch and you become a felon for the rest of your life, and then you're relegated to like being doing menial labor for the rest of your life, right? When you could have had a lot more prospect, isn't that the police causing more harm to your life?
No, it's just don't smoke weed and you won't have to worry about the police.
So are the laws enforced
really, Brandon?
across the races?
It is.
No, they're not.
What's your proof to that?
So black people in this country, right, are statistically found to have been given larger sentences for the same crimes compared to their white counterparts.
See, let me
that is true.
Some more information to give you
that is true.
A lot of it is because people have committed multiple crimes before they get to the final crime sentencing. Yes, it is.
For first time offender.
What Brendan said is to have true. What Brendan want to admit is that minority offenders are treated more harshly than Caucasian offenders. That's what Brendan's not saying here.
Give me an example. Where do you see, now here's what, and everybody should acknowledge this, where do you see in this country a judge, this judge gave a white person a different sentence than a black person in that same courtroom?
Statistically, you can still see that minority offenders are given harsher sentences for the same crimes compared to the white counterparts.
And a lot of times it's because they already have previous charges. I'll give you an example of people that's in my family. So, two people that I know, I'm not going to say what position they're in my family, got 20 years in prison for armed robbery. 25 years in prison for armed robbery. The reason he got 25 years is because he had already committed a robbery. He got 5 years before that. Another one of my cousins got 75 years in prison for shooting 3 people. The reason he got 75 years, and some people didn't get that, because he had already been a prohibited possessor. He was already a convicted felon, and he had drugs in the car. Those contributing factors is what lead many black people who already have a criminal record to being sentenced at a higher rate. You cannot find a judge
That's a half truth,
that gave a
Brandon.
black person a higher sentence.
Once again, Brandon, that is a half truth. Tell the whole truth, Brandon.
Then they gave a white person. If you find that judge, I think everybody in here will be against that judge. And I would march and protest a judge that we can find doing that. You won't find it.
We're going to have to pause here because you've been voted out by the majority. Thank you so much. If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair. And 3, 2, 1.
What's up?
What's up, bro?
How you feeling?
Good.
Let's have some fun. I want to approach this from a place of curiosity because the thing that troubles me about a lot of the way you structure your arguments is that it seems to suggest to me that you perhaps believe that there's some moral deficit that black people have that inclines us to commit more crimes. I guess my question is, what do you think that moral lack is?
I don't really think it's a sweeping generalization that every black person somehow is born inherently evil or inherently a criminal. I think that there's different things that do cause people to fall down a path of committing crimes, which is what their fathers did and what their mothers did.
One might say context and systemic racism. Or
I don't think it has. I think it had much to do with racism.
No.
I don't think it has. Like for instance, we can isolate criminal activity that happened in the black community that has no hand or involvement from white people.
Yeah.
You know, a young man deciding to grab a gun and do a shooting has nothing to do with white people. A young man having sex with 5 or 6 women, getting them pregnant, and not standing up for his responsibilities has nothing to do with white people.
See, but when you tell stories like that, it seems to suggest that you're saying that black people are responsible for all of that versus these isolated incidents, these mythical isolated incidents that you're bringing up. I guess
I'm saying it's personal responsibility.
So you're saying
there's no white man there.
There's an epidemic of personal responsibility inside the black community.
I agree.
How do you measure that?
By looking at the effects of it, looking at what black people are doing over time.
So earlier, people have come up and given you a vast number of statistics that indicate systemic racism, inequality, poverty, education has happened over and over again. Yet you claim black people have an epidemic of personal responsibility, but you can't give a single statistic that indicates that. How do you measure that?
Epidemic of personal responsibility. You see the outcomes.
Is it the rap music?
That's one indicator.
Yeah, it's rap music.
It's rap music.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Who wrote that song?
Let me give you an example of why this is different. Let me give you an example of why this is different.
Come on. Let's talk about rap.
And I'm gonna tell you how it has a negative effect on black people.
Yeah.
White people actually listen to rap music way more than black people do. They purchase it more. But black people are living the stuff that's in the music. White people fantasize of what it may be like to run up on your op and shoot somebody and kill them and go to prison.
Come on.
And selling dope in the hood to your own people.
Yeah.
Black people are living it. It's a reality. It's reinforced.
I've listened to a
form of brainwashing.
I've listened to a lot of rap music. You know what I've never done? Shot up a school.
What does a school got to do anything?
I think you try to create this image that there's no. This is what I mean by you seem to suggest that there's no lack.
No, you're saying there's no negative.
Some kind of lack that causes more prone to violence, but you don't acknowledge any of the historical context.
You're saying that there's no negative effects of brainwashing yourself about killing your brother and sister and listening to that on a day-to-day basis. There's no negative effect in that.
Right, why are you posing this as a uniquely black thing? It's like when you make the argument that like violence has been a part of art all the time. I write for a living. You know who glorifies violence? William Shakespeare. You know who glorifies violence? Quentin Tarantino. You don't see anyone talking about, oh my God, this is responsible for all the white crime, even though there are more white criminals in America than any other race.
We're talking about black people.
Yeah.
Do you think that black hip-hop music, rap music is detrimental to the black community?
No.
You think it has no effect on the psyche of a young man listening to that every day?
No. It's that simple.
I disagree with you on that point. I think here lies the problem.
How would you validate that? How would you prove that?
Well,
what can be proved is a correlation between poverty and crime, and that can be traced systemically through history. And this goes back to all the arguments we've made about wealth accumulation and how black people have been prevented from having that.
Now, how can you associate that to white supremacy?
How can I associate white supremacy and generational poverty? Do you think wealth is inherited?
In part.
Yes, so do you think poverty is inherited?
The majority of people who are successful in this country do not get passed on generational wealth. A lot of people who are very successful came from nothing. I would argue that almost every black person who is successful came from nothing.
Yeah,
which is an example of why capitalism works.
Yeah, okay, so I went to one of the most conservative high schools in America. it is a very alluring and deceptive delusion to believe that because
Right.
you live in circumstances that are different from the rest of black people, that somehow you are special.
What do you mean? You're saying that
I mean that this is the way earlier that you suggested, like, oh, here's my example of someone who escaped poverty, and that means that everybody has access to that.
No, I'm not saying not every white person has
So
access
then you
to
acknowledge that there are forces that
I'm saying
operate
there's-
against black people that are unique to black people. And where do those come from?
I think a lot of it comes from the actions of
The
black
epidemic of personal responsibility that you can't indicate how
Are
that
you
exists.
telling me, so are you a successful man considering, like,
I'm doing my thing. Yeah.
Okay, did you go to school?
I got incredibly
Are
lucky.
you educated?
I got incredibly
No.
lucky.
Are you educated?
Yeah.
Okay. What decisions did you have to make to get to the point that you're at?
Okay, we're gonna talk about education. We're gonna talk about the difference in funding between schools in black neighborhoods and white neighborhoods.
Like, if you're funding, I went to probably one of the poorest schools in my school district. That didn't make the difference of whether or not I did my homework or not.
Yeah, this is the thing why I think you're convinced that you're special.
I don't think that inherently, because the color of my skin, that somehow I'm behind the curve against white people.
Yeah. Harriet Tubman escaped the plantation. A lot of people didn't. Is it that thought of all those black people that they couldn't escape?
I don't get your point there.
The point that I'm making is that people live in dire circumstances, and every once in a while someone can break out. And that's not an indication that the system
Black
itself
people
is not
don't
corrupt.
live in a world where every now and again, the majority of black people live in the middle class.
Yes, but a lot more black people live in poverty than any other.
Disproportionate, and a lot of those are because of decision making. When you have children,
yes,
and you're
so
not
this is
married,
why I'm saying that I think you think that black people have some unique moral deficit.
We
You're
are
saying that
falling.
there's an epidemic of personal responsibility in black people, but you can't prove that. Yet we can prove that systemic racism exists. But you don't.
What you're doing is you're assessing or
When does systemic racism stop in America? When does systemic racism stop in America?
I don't think there was real systemic racism
ever. Please keep going. I would love for you to go for the rest of the time on that.
I do not believe that there's been systemic racism in America that's been a primary reason why black people cannot succeed.
Right, but you can't prove that there's an epidemic of personal responsibility. You can prove that there's an epidemic of systemic racism.
No, look.
And that's why I'm asking you, when did it stop? Because theoretically, that should be
Are you saying that black people are not responsible for the decisions that they make?
I'm saying everyone has agency. Everyone commits crime. Everyone does everything.
Exactly.
But people have that.
So therefore, if you do the right things like you did, you have an opportunity to be successful, which is equal to just about anybody else, no matter what color you are. You think white people are better than you?
No, but I worry you do.
Why do you think I do? I'm the one that's saying that black people have the opportunity to be successful in this country just as well as anybody else. You don't believe that. So you think white people are better than you.
Your prompt perhaps could have been, we should do more to prevent crime and poverty in black communities, right? That's a way of framing the argument. That
you can say you can frame or whatever you want. You are focusing on, we're talking about black people.
I'm focusing on language because words are important.
We're talking about black people and you focus on what white people are doing. So
all right, you have to pause me. Gave you guys more time.
Over here in boats.
Gentlemen, the time's up now. All right, thank you.
Nicotine, the ultimate biohacker's secret weapon, has made a wild comeback. But why is that clean lifestyle still fueled by big tobacco's chemical-laden slop? For those who switch out LEDs for incandescents, source raw milk, and read every single label, it's time to stop compromising. Introducing Knick-Knack, the nicotine solution that actually complements a clean routine. This family-owned company manufactures a superior nicotine lozenge right here in the USA. Affectionately known as a lip break, this fully dissolvable option is crafted with just 6 premium ingredients, including real essential oils for authentic flavor. There are no pH adjusters, no plastic pouches, and absolute...
Black people hurt.
Come on.
It's nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
My next round of claim is that black people hurt black people more than any other group.
If you'd like to be the next debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Great, nice to meet you.
Great.
Okay, I personally think that, since we're talking about groups, I think that Republicans, their leadership caused more harm. I think the fact that Louisiana, which has one of the highest murder rates, or Cobb, has one of the highest poverty rates, that's run by Republicans. And honestly, with the Voting Rights Act, they just axed the fact that black people can have a voice. So when we talk about like political harm, Republicans are trying to destroy black people. When we talk about economic harm, Republicans, with the tariffs, with just how we're doing as a country right now, Republicans have axed any way that black people can be able to speak, profit. We can go back to racist policies like redlining that, President Trump has participated twice. I just don't understand how black people are doing more harm.
Okay, I disagree with a few things that you've claimed. But what I'm saying is that if you look at, I don't know the ages of everybody in this room, but if you're 25 and under, the leading cause of death for you is being murdered by another black person.
Where?
What do you mean where?
Where are victimizations of black people higher?
In black neighborhoods.
Where? In red states. In Mississippi?
No,
I don't know, right?
Well, not necessarily true. Mississippi as a state, obviously, has majority white people that live in it. We're talking about cities that are primarily black that are dealing with these issues.
So my problem with this is that whenever we talk about black harm, we're only able to talk about murder rates.
No, it's not just murder rates. I would argue that black people systemically voting for Democrats have been very harmful to the black community.
How?
Well, when you look at, let's start from Martin Luther King all the way on. There's plenty of statistical data points where black people have declined in the birth rate. Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
And young black people born into single-parent homes. Black people engaging in employment.
Can I talk about employment?
Let me get to point by point. And this entire time, black people have been consistently voting for Democrats, which I argue is hurting the black communities.
You went to employment, right? So let's talk about unemployment. Who had the lowest black unemployment?
What you mean, who had
what president? Yeah, what president?
Well, Joe Biden did.
Okay, so Joe Biden's a Democrat, right?
Let me explain. The first decline that we saw, which was historic, was under President Trump.
Yeah, and then it was historic under Biden, right?
It went down
after the pandemic, right? It was historically low in 2023.
The only reason that Brennan Tatum can say that is only because of C-19. If it wasn't for C-19, it wasn't going to go nowhere.
At 5.3 or 5.2 for black unemployment, which beats Trump's 5.5, which increased to like a 7.9 by the end of this year.
Some people can argue that Trump's policies residually rolled over.
Like Trump's like the Tax Cut and Jobs Act.
Opportunity zones help black people. Tax cuts.
Is that why he didn't bring them back and brought them back for rural areas?
Tax cuts do help black people. I don't know if you believe this or
and
not.
Why did he cut those
tax
cuts?
Have jobs.
Why did
they
you?
do. I agree. On taxes being cut.
That's why Biden had a lower unemployment rate. But when we were talking about tax cut, Biden had a child tax credit that Trump took away, but the Republicans didn't want to put into his 2023 and 2024 year. So why are the Republicans stopping those tax cuts that you said black people have children?
I think we're getting off track. The premise of what I'm saying is that the ailments that we see in the black community are perpetuated by other black people. Listen, let me say, the drugs that are sold in our communities are sold by us. The crime that is committed in our communities, that's devastating our communities, are perpetuated primarily by us.
So what's your solution?
Okay,
I can give you a solution.
You've been voted out by the majority.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great one. Thank you, brother.
If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
How are you?
Good, I'm Zena. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Okay, so black people hurt black people more than anyone else hurts black people.
Okay.
My question to you is why?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that it stimulates from a few different facets, and I think a lot of them are responsible, but for the most part, by black people. When you are not raised in a loving household, and you're not protected, you don't have a father in the household, those things lead to devastating outcomes. Young men doing things they're not supposed to do, like we see in modern society, these young YNs. All of these things are contributing factors to decisions that we make.
Okay, cool. So what you're describing is a byproduct of poverty, right? And what we know under a capitalist system is that poverty compounds over time in history as well as wealth. And what has happened systematically as well as systemically in this system is that black people have been pushed away from wealth-creating mechanisms. This has happened for generations, even past slavery. Even if we were to argue that after slavery, nothing else happened. There was no Jim Crow laws, there's no redlining, there's no unequal implementation of the GI Bill, we would still see that, like, our country has lived under this disenfranchisement of black people longer than it has been free. So my question is, what do you think accounts for like the $4 to $16 trillion that was stolen from black people through slavery? Like, where is that equalizing mechanism?
I don't believe that you can say that money was stolen from black people during slavery.
Oh, but
let me explain. Because money wasn't stolen, opportunities were not there because black people were slaves. It's not a fair comparison.
So imagine this, you got 200 people on a plantation and they're making you millions and millions of dollars, right, a year through their labor, right? So what happens is there's no money to steal because because black people weren't granted the humanity.
Well, you're
to
saying
be compensated
black
for the value
people.
that they created.
Well, let's look at it like this. This is an environment and a dispensation of time where slavery was a fact and reality around the world.
And we live under capitalism, right?
Let me explain. So it's not like it was somehow unique.
Oh, it was very unique to the West.
It's not uniquely in the United States of America.
Chattel slavery?
Majority of the slaves
Do you want to
were in
compare
South
chattel
America.
slavery?
Let me just give you an example. Majority of the slaves were in South America. You do agree to that? About 400,000 black people
Do you
were
want to
made
focus on
slaves
America,
over
though?
time.
Why are we pivoting the conversation? My
We're
question
not
was...
pivoting anything. You
what?
got it. You jumping around.
No.
Let's stick to
I had a
something
question.
we
Do
can
you remember the question I asked you around 2 minutes ago? I asked you this.
I feel like you want to be confrontational more than you want to get to the bottom of the conversation. You're saying
it's unfortunate that that's the way that you feel about how I'm trying to approach a question.
We need to stick to a
What's
point.
the equalizing mechanism? $4 to $16 trillion, right, was the revenue that was created through the unpaid labor that came from chattel slavery.
In my opinion, you cannot judge slavery and act as if black people even had a fair chance in the first place.
That's what I'm talking about here.
Let me explain. We need to talk in terms of after slavery was abolished, what opportunities were presented to black people.
If we do that, we cut out around 2/3 of the story, right? So what I told you before, right? We live under capitalism, and if we live under capitalism, what we know is a couple things. Wealth comes from capital, and capital compounds, right? Value. So what happens is property taxes.
Are you trying to say that inevitably black people will never have an opportunity to be successful in America? Is that what you're saying?
I'm explaining something really, really crucial here that will help you
answer that, because I think we'll be on the same
platform. You can't interrupt me when we're not having the same conversation.
I'm trying to get to a point where we can have a real discussion.
If it is the case that property taxes, right, fund our school systems, build them up, okay, and we see redlining literally labeled neighborhoods where black people were living as full of inharmonious racial groups to the point where they couldn't get the mortgage, right? This was, 60 years ago? Grandparents, parents, right, who experienced that inability to have a home. 2/3 of the middle class gets their generational wealth from properties. Where's this equalizing mechanism? Why do you expect there to be a similar playing field?
Okay, I think we're going to go in circles if we go back in time. What mechanisms?
Oh, we got it.
I'm saying that we're going to get to a standstill. What mechanisms are in place today that prevent you from having the same financial success as anybody else in this country?
Does inheritance exist under
capitalism? I'm asking you to answer this question.
I've asked two questions now that were ignored.
What mechanism in place currently prevents you from being financially successful as anybody else in this country?
The continuity of private property, right? So I'm answering the question.
You're not allowed to own property.
That's not the question here. It's who had access to property.
No, we know. Let's put it this way, because we're going to get into an argument in circles.
I don't think it's going in circles. I think you're not answering the question.
Here's the thing that we can agree on.
I asked two questions.
Let me say, this is the thing that we can agree on. We can agree that there was discrimination in this country. We can agree that there's some elements of...
Do you agree that inheritance exists?
We can agree that there's elements of things that happen in this country that put black people behind. We can agree to that.
Okay.
But what I'm telling you is that we cannot still live 60 years ago and act as if we don't have an opportunity today.
Here, let me...
We can break down redlining. We can go through the process of all these different things.
Let me address it.
Because I don't think that we're telling the full story about redlining. I don't think we're telling the full story about economic opportunity for black people in America today.
I think you're right. So white families, on average, have a 10 times higher median household income than black people.
Why is that?
And that's what I want to answer for you.
Let me answer this.
No. You asked me a question. Why are you answering the question that you asked to me?
You just let me answer the question.
No. I don't want you to answer it for me because I want to answer. I want to participate in it.
Looking for a warm, hearty, one-pot dish this season? Beefy shepherd's pie is it. Hi, Chef Dagan here in the Beef What's for Dinner Culinary Center, funded by the Beef Checkoff. Today's recipe, shepherd's pie, or, as I know it from my French training, haché pimentier. First, we're going to start off with preheating our oven to 450.
No, I don't want you to answer it for me because I want to answer. I want to participate in it back and forth.
Okay, come on.
The reason is because wealth in this country is passed down. The biggest, in 2020, they projected that $765 billion, right, was passed down through gifts and bequests to the American population, right, the middle class, and that's just the middle class. That is the majority way that wealth funnels down in this country.
Are you saying that black people are not currently able to have financial success in this country just like white people.
I'm saying that we're comparing a tortoise to a hare right now. So
I don't think that's true.
I think it's
are you
absolutely
alluding
true.
to the fact let's
That
talk
is
about
true
redlining
what
real
you're
quick, 'cause I
saying.
think that it's been
What you're saying is true.
disproportionately
It's very
represented.
true.
When you talk about redlining, do you know, and I think it's good for the crowd to understand this, that in the red line districts, 92% of all the people who live in the red line districts were white. Are you aware of that?
Where is this source coming from? Redlining specifically labeled.
Do you not know this as a
Okay,
fact?
how about this? The underwritings of the HOLC specifically said that black groups, right, were seen as inharmonious groups that we should be very wary. No. Let's look it up. The fact check will be somewhere here or here for you. Right? It said
That's what the
inharmonious groups.
That's
Black
what the
people were titled as FHA. Okay, they both work together. They work together.
They
We
were
have to
different.
pause
No,
it
they weren't
here.
sure, but they work together.
Guys, we have to pause and vote it out. Thank you. If you would like to be the next debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1.
Peace, brother.
What's up, brother?
So we're talking about black on black crime.
Yeah, we can address that.
Black on black crime is a myth. Human beings create crime based off where they're at. In the 90s, there was an opioid epidemic, specifically Oxycontin. This was white drug dealers selling this medicine to white fiends.
Okay.
Over 80,000 people in the year 2023, according to the CDC, overdosed from opioids. That same year, 31,000 people overdosed from cocaine. Now, a portion of those cocaine users were likely black people who were on crack. However, more than twice as many people overdosed on opioids that were white drug dealers selling to white fiends. However, in no instance did anyone come up, a policymaker, and say that this opioid crisis was white on white crime. However, when black people engage in crime based off where they're at, the government uses it as an excuse to overcriminalize them in a way that white communities are not criminalized at all.
I disagree with you because I don't think that anybody's saying black on black crime necessitates a police response. People point out that black people disproportionately, or I say to a higher degree per capita, kill each other more than any other group.
It's not accurate.
That is 100% accurate. That is 100% accurate. Anybody can fact check that. We kill each other at a higher rate per capita than any other group. That is a fact. Now, the reason that people point this out is because others try to claim that the biggest threat to our existence, the biggest threat to our young people are white people, or systemic racism. But the reality is the cause of death, the leading cause of death for young people 25 and under, from 15 to 25, is being murdered by another black man. Then you go on beyond that, and the leading cause of death is what? Health issues.
I dig it. So the biggest,
diabetes.
okay,
It has nothing to do with white people.
Okay, cool. So the biggest threat to black people and the biggest threat to the world is the system of racism and white supremacy that we live in. Because the system of racism, white
Give me an
supremacy.
example how
I'll give
the
you an example.
system
The
is
system of
directly
racism,
affecting you.
exactly. The system of racism, white supremacy affects every faction of interaction.
Give me an example.
I'll give you them. We're talking economic, social, and sports. So these these black drug dealers that you're mad at. For example, Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray was a petty black drug dealer.
He still was selling drugs.
Yes, he was selling drugs.
Who was he selling drugs to?
Selling drugs to black people.
Okay.
But no petty white drug dealer has ever been thrown in the back of a paddy wagon and ended
That is
up
not
dead.
true. They just
Only
give
black
publicity.
people are only petty black drug dealers are criminalized for selling drugs. That's because we live in a system
You want to go to Freddie
of
Gray?
racism, white supremacy,
Who was the judge?
over-criminalizes the actions of black people and overlooks petty white crime.
Who was the prosecutor and judge that allowed those police officers to get off of that crime? It was a black judge and a black prosecutor.
Also, in 2018, there were multiple officers in Baltimore who were found guilty of planting drugs and weapons on black people and arresting them. That is an example of racism, white supremacy being used to weaponize crime and criminalize black people. You've never heard an instance in which petty white drug dealers have had drugs and weapons planted on them that has led to their arrest.
Have you ever been a police officer? Have you ever arrested anybody?
God, no.
Well, let me break this down. Things
no.
that you're saying are focused on what's happening in the black community. You don't know what's happening in the white community.
I know exactly. I just told you they're fiended out. I told you there's an opioid crisis. White street drug dealers are selling street fentanyl and opioids to white fiends. But it's cool. It is not over criminalized because it's cool to. It's cool to the government. It's cool to the people that write the laws. The people that write the laws, the government and the politicians are not over criminalizing this behavior. They're not chasing the white dope dealer, the white petty drug dealer. They're not chasing him around and throwing him into the back of a bag in the back of a paddy wagon. The same way that Freddie Gray got thrown into the back of a paddy wagon.
They're not chasing criminals.
Timothy, please let Officer Tatum speak and address what you're
You said a lot of things. If you're saying that there's no instances where white people are getting arrested for criminal activity, or you're saying that they're not thrown in the back of the paddy wagon and dying, no, that's not true.
What I'm saying is these white drug dealers are not policed and criminalized and put on TV and looked at as criminals and drug dealers in the same way that petty black drug dealers like Freddie Gray are criminalized and thrown in the back of the paddy wagon.
I have to pause it here. He's been voted out by the majority. If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
You can get anything you want on the internet. So why are we still taking gen eds like this? At Sophia Learning, we have a solution. Sophia offers online college-level courses that are designed to transfer for credit, helping thousands of people graduate. Use Sophia and get ahead.
I am going to give you the playbook to a woman's thyroid. We have McCall McPherson. She is a pioneer, physician associate, and entrepreneur specializing in thyroid, hormone, and metabolic health. And in this episode, she is going to walk you through all the things that you need to know about your thyroid. McCall, welcome to the show. Okay, I found you on Instagram. Late one night, I was scrolling, you popped up into my feed, and your frequency and what you were saying was something I was so attracted to, and I personally have so many questions about my own thyroid. So I invited you on the show to tell you how excited I am.
Chair in 3, 2, 1.
Back again. Okay, so thank you for clarifying the prompt for us, because I was a little confused reading it, because white people hurt white people around the same rates. But I guess my question is starting when and how are you quantifying harm?
Okay, that's a great question. I think that we can go all the way back to the beginning if you want to, in slavery. When the slave trade was proliferated, black people enslaved each other.
Where?
In Africa. Black people enslaved other blacks in Africa and sold them all over the world. That, to me, that's an incredible harm of black people inflicted on other blacks and perpetuated across the world. Then you have slavery now perpetuated in South America. You have it in the United States of America. That is initial harm. I would argue that the point in time of slavery in America as we know it, I believe that white people hurt black people more than black people did.
Yes.
Now we go post-slavery.
Okay.
I believe that black people began to take the torch and destroy themselves or destroy other blacks more than any other group in America.
Okay, so let's start post-slavery. I'm gonna ignore the thing about black people selling black people in Africa. Well, do you know how many black people were sold as slaves to each other in Africa?
Well, millions were sold in the slave trade around the world.
Are you talking about the transatlantic slave trade or before the transatlantic slave trade?
Transatlantic slave trade.
Okay, yeah, but that was by white people again.
What you mean it was by white people? I'm saying that black people enslaved other blacks and sold them to white people.
They were primarily kidnapped by the Portuguese.
There was not primary kidnapping. It was an actual legal slave trade that existed.
Yes, I mean
millions of transactions between Africans.
The legal slave trade that existed before the transatlantic slave trade was mainly based on when a tribe conquered another tribe. They were prisoners of war, which is still enslaved, but it's different from the transatlantic slave trade when we're talking about black people hurting black people versus white people hurting black people, right? But I wanted to go focus on your claim about post-slavery. Yes. So the primary, I guess, what do you think
black people were doing post-slavery?
Well, you know, I think there's a period of time where there was an explosion of black excellence.
Yes, Reconstruction.
After slavery was abolished.
Right.
You know, we have black people fighting in the military, black people owning their own companies,
yes,
building wealth. We have Black Wall Street.
Okay.
We have, you go on, so on and so forth.
Right.
And I believe that as black people begin to support Marxist theology, Martin Luther King and others put us in a path where we rely on the government more than our own resilience.
Okay.
You cannot tell me that that's not true.
So let's pause, because we just skipped like a good 30 years of history. We just skipped like 3 decades.
I'm giving you a summation from the 30s.
Okay, yeah. So we did Reconstruction, and Reconstruction was ended, right? Because the South took back. At the time, we had Northerners in the South who were running the South so that the Union could stay together. Once the North left the South, Reconstruction ends, and that's when we see black people start to decline. It wasn't Karl Marx. Karl Marx didn't come in and say,
I said Marxist theology. I didn't say Karl Marx.
It wasn't Marxist theology. I mean, we're just ignoring the history of sharecropping. That's ignoring the history of Jim Crow, right? You think that Karl Marx was worse for the black community than Jim Crow segregation?
Let me argue this point. Capitalism has rescued and made successful so many people of different backgrounds and demographics. That's why America is so great. What I'm saying is that black people being resilient, operating through capitalism, and believing in themselves and being self-sustainable was the best path for blacks, and they were successful in that. When they begin to rely on the government, begin to rely on handouts, begin to listen to foolish things that people like Martin Luther King said, it caused us to be more dependent on the government, less dependent on ourselves, and now you see decline in multifaceted areas.
Okay,
consistent. Let me say, I'm gonna let you speak. But what I'm saying is that when you look at other groups, minority groups, they did not fall for that. You look at the Jewish population, look at immigrants that came over here, they were self-sustainable, they worked within their community, they built wealth, generational wealth amongst each other. They did not farm out their existence to
can I
the
speak now,
government.
please? Thank you. So, the other immigrant groups that you're talking about, first of all, were not subject to Jim Crow segregation laws. But do you? I just want you to answer.
Jews were subject.
I just want you to answer this question, yes or no. Okay. Do you think that Karl Marx hurt the black community and his ideology hurt the black community more than Jim Crow segregation?
I have to think that through.
Producing the spectricide, wasp, hornet, and yellow jacket trap. With a lure that's impossible to resist. It's your refillable 24/7, 360-degree backyard defender. Spectricide. You hold the power.
This Jeffersonian dream of building this educated republic, agriculture and engineering and science and medicine. And the miracle is exceptionalism. And what we have enabled is entrepreneurship. We've enabled greatness.
We always say that America is a land of opportunity and also a land of reinvention. Our history is full of stories of ambitious entrepreneurs meeting opportunities to transform technologies, industries, and society, often more than once in their lifetime. Reinvention takes resilience, getting back up after being knocked down. Tom Siebel, serial entrepreneur, veteran.
Think that through. Jim Crow segregation.
What is there to think about?
Because you're
By the way, Karl Marx is white, so that would still be a white person in the black community. Just saying.
But then Martin Luther King embraced his theology.
Okay, but so,
which is a black man leading the black community off a cliff. Now let me just say this.
So you think
I'm saying that every black person was not subject. Every black person was not subject to Jim Crow laws. Every black person did not live in the South. There was a lot of successful black people during that time period. I mean, I would give you an example.
The Harlem Renaissance, of course.
I'm gonna give you an example of black people who were incredibly successul through what? Capitalism. We see Madam C.J. Walker, the first female millionaire out of any race, very successful in the late 1800s, late 1800s,
okay,
early 1900s. That's not just one.
That is
we have a tremendous amount of success.
My friend, it feels
George
like you're
Washington
forgetting.
Carver.
I'd let you talk for a long time. I would like my turn to speak. I feel like we're completely jumping over history. We go from slavery to Martin Luther King, then all the way back. We ignore the history of sharecropping, right? We've completely glossed over sharecropping. We've completely glossed over Jim Crow laws and how much wealth was stolen from the black community. We've completely glossed over the Tulsa race riots, and when black people did succeed under capitalism, those communities were destroyed. We've completely glossed over eminent domain and how much of the black community was taken, like literal black.
Let's talk about.
Like, what about Seneca Village?
Let's talk about Black Wall Street. Let's talk about Black Wall Street. Are we on the same page of what happened in the Tulsa riots? The Tulsa race war?
It depends. What do you think happened?
Well, I know what happened. There was a conflict between black and white people. There was a fight between the two. White people got the best of black people in Tulsa.
No, we are not on the same page.
Well, let me finish and you tell me why I'm wrong. In that fight, there was a lot of black businesses destroyed in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They rebuilt, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years later, and they begin to continue to succeed. Is that not factual?
No.
What's the truth? What happened then?
I mean, the truth is that a community of successful black people who were succeeding under capitalism were directly targeted because of that success.
It was a conflict.
Yes.
It was a conflict between a black man, I believe it was a black man.
It started when a black man was accused of lynching, or not lynching, was accused of raping a woman, and then because of that, there was this anger and a mob started.
Inappropriate behavior with a woman. There was a conflict that occurred. The first shots rang out from black people, shooting and killing several white people.
So how many black people were killed in total?
Well, I don't know how many black people killed in total. I just know black people fired one shot.
Can I tell you? It was 300. And that's like a low estimate. Not as many, because it was a riot against the black community.
White people came up into Tulsa, Oklahoma. It became a violent confrontation, and white people overran the black people in that confrontation.
Can I ask you, because it kind of feels like you're defending the race rioters.
I'm not defending any race rioters. I'm saying it's a conflict that happened.
Can you acknowledge that this is one example in which white people hurt black people unjustly?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brandon Tatum. Always gotta defend white folks. This train with Brandon Tatum never fails. Brandon Tatum always got to defend white folks. Always. Even.
What you're trying to say is that black people are doing their own thing, and a bunch of white people just came up and destroyed all their property just because.
Yes, that's what happened.
Conflict that occurred that caused that to happen.
But you know the KKK existed, right?
They did.
Yes, white supremacy existed, and that was in the South. Where's Oklahoma?
I didn't say that white supremacy don't exist. We're not arguing.
Yes, that was the point, though.
I'm not arguing that the Ku Klux Klan didn't have a negative effect on the black community. We're not arguing that.
But that's what we are arguing. The whole point of this prompt is that black people hurt the black community more than white people. And these are some examples of white people hurting the black community. And every time I give you one, you say no.
Let's give an example of some things that are ailments in the black community that I think that we can agree on.
Okay.
The single parent household situation with young black men born out of. Young black men and women are born to parents who are not married.
Okay, guys, please don't raise the flags on me. I have to make one point, and then I'll get it, okay? So, to the single-parent house, I think that's a great example, right? Because I think we can both all agree we want black families to stay together. What is the leading cause of the separation of black families?
I think it's a degradation of values.
Sun on my face.
Really, nigga?
My feathers.
The savings in my wallet.
Welcome to Pop Syllabus. It's your host, Christiana in back with Medina. We're going to do it again. We're going to dive into these magazines because last time...
Degradation of values in the black community.
Would you say that the criminalization, black men disproportionately going to jail more, has an effect on the separation of the black households?
I would agree to that, but I would also say that is because of the choices and decisions that these young black men are making.
Perfect, thank you. I was hoping you would say that. So...
Is that not true? You don't go to jail.
Hold on. Okay, you go to jail for selling drugs. Can I read you a quote from Nixon's domestic policy chief, John Ehrlichman? This is at the start of the war on drugs, which we know is what led to a lot of mass incarceration of the black community, a significant increase in black men imprisoned and incarcerated for drug possession and selling. We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the Vietnam War or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt.
Yep, what you read here is true.
Those communities.
I'm not familiar with that quote.
Oh, really? Shocking.
I can go and read it later, but that's still
You should really read it later.
That's not getting to the point of saying that people are incarcerated because decisions that they made to commit crimes. Is that not true?
Well, yes, that's
the reason that none of us. The reason that none of us.
Respond to
the reason
what
that
you
none of
just
us. The reason that none of us are selling dope. Why? Because we don't want to go to prison. We value our lives. If you are going to sell drugs and you're going to kill people and you're going to commit robbery, you're going to go to jail.
Yes,
you can't blame all of that on the war on crime or whatever the case may be.
But the war on crime was specifically to get black men to go to jail. He literally admitted it.
There's nothing wrong with imposing laws that help our community. You act
Sambo ass nigga.
You act like it's a good thing for
Sambo.
black people to be selling drugs in our community. It is not. So when you go to jail for selling drugs, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of anybody that's rational, that is a benefit to the black community.
Diva, in this quote,
drug dealers, criminals off the street, and our communities to be able to thrive, our property value to be able to go up, these people need to go to jail.
Dude,
it's not
okay, I hear you, thank you. But literally, the domestic policy chief is saying we could disrupt those communities. He is openly admitting. No, I let you talk a lot. I need you to let
I need you to clarify this. Disrupt these communities in what way? What is he saying? Disrupt the communities.
By heavily criminalizing.
To what end?
To hurt black people.
So black people get criminals off the street.
Officer, no, we have to pause here. You guys have gone over. So thank you both so much. Thank you.
My final surrounding claim is that systemic racism is used as an excuse to avoid personal responsibility.
If you'd like to be the next debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you.
What do you mean by systemic? Are you talking about like sociology within our society, or do you mean within the structure of our government?
I'm thinking that people would argue, because I don't feel systemic racism as a part of my life, but I'm thinking that systems or laws
that are put in place
or even that are implemented or acted upon
to bring down black people
is alleged to bring down black people.
You would say DEI was a hindrance to us, because that's a lot of what Republicans like to argue.
Is DEI part of systemic racism?
That's what a lot of them will believe.
DEI, in my opinion, was the overcorrection of injustices that has happened to black people, which caused, I think, more harm to black people than good.
So systematic racism does exist?
I think in part, systematic racism and racism in America does exist.
Okay, thank you. You literally
I don't think, but my point is that I don't think that it rises to the degree that it affects black people where they cannot be successful in America and they cannot have the same opportunities as others do in America. I don't think I don't think it's a primary causation of black people.
Brandon, you was propped up by white folks, man. Shut up.
And are the things that are ailments in the black community that cause the numbers of blacks in marker points to go down and be degenerate.
So I like to think that when we put in red line districting, when we put all that stuff in, we saw that our schools were greatly affected by that. We saw that the systems within the schools were greatly affected in the way that some were more white schools and a lot of white districting, predominantly white districting, were way more economically benefited by the community around them than the black community who could not afford to grow any kind of economic revenue for themselves within the education system. We weren't able to get certain soccer fields, we weren't able to get different auditoriums for acting and stuff like that. You know, when you're not able to have those kind of like things in your school, how do you expect people to not want to go to the streets? How do you expect them to invest in things that they cannot afford within their system?
Well, let me give you a perspective here. Not all black people are poor, right? I know you're not saying that, but I'm saying there's a lot of diversity within. So I grew up in a black neighborhood, right? All black people. Within the black neighborhood, there are those who succeed and those who do not succeed. There are those who go on and get a good education, even at the same school that I went to. There's some that do well and some that do not do well. In my opinion, that's a perfect example of how I don't think systemic racism has much to do with the success of black people. It's personal decision making. Some of it does have something to do with
I
parents.
feel like you can do good, you can excel, you can be great, and I really do believe that it is a part of your person, you're part of your personality. But I'm saying that there is obviously, you can see that there are less black people that are able to graduate than white people. There are way more white people that are able to graduate. No, you don't. You don't think that has anything. You don't think that has anything to do with them not being able to afford to continue going to school because of the systems that were put in place. Okay, I have to pause here. I'm so sorry. You have been voted out by the majority. Thank you. Thank you. If you would like to be the next debater to the chair, get there in 3, 2, 1.
All right, I just want to get.
Can I lay the foundation of this real quick?
I was just
like
about to have you do that.
What I want to say is, and I want us to be very clear about this, and I'm hoping that we all can at least come to a common knowledge of this. I do not believe that there's no such thing as racism in America. There's racism in America. There's systems that disproportionately affect black people in a negative way. But what I'm saying is that I don't even think it's close to a primary reason why black people see success or do not see success in America. So I think it's a very minor thing that occurs in society. Everybody has their own engagement with disparity in this country. Some believe it's discrimination. You have privileges of being better looking, you have privileges of being athletic, you have privileges of having parents. All of those things are contributing factors that everybody engage in. Racism does exist in part. Systemic things that cause black people to be behind the curve in part does exist. But it's not a significant reason why black people
clarification questions. First and foremost, why are you saying systemic racism instead of just racism?
Well, you got to qualify it. I mean, I don't. Systemic means a continuation of racial practices. So you're saying from this point till now, that's why you would say systemic.
You believe in interpersonal racism? Can black people be racist?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're just wrong. And
how am I wrong?
I got you. Don't worry about it.
Come on.
The reason why I asked about like why you brought it down to systemic is because it's a whole. Racism is a whole. It's an entire system, right? So when you talk about black people being racist, you have to understand the ability to actually flip the power structure and use the premise of race and racism for your benefit. Question: who created race?
White people.
You know, that's a good question. I'm not really sure.
It was a Portuguese man by the name of Gomes Inez de Rara in 1452. He was actually commissioned by the Catholic Church, and they told him to go out and document the difference between these people, right?
Do you believe in race?
It's a social construct.
No, you believe that it exists?
We live in the social construct. It's not biological.
So you're saying this man created it?
Yes, it's
and we perpetuate it?
Yes. It's literally
black
documented.
People also perpetuate it.
It's documented. They published 2 papal bulls, one in 1455 and one in 1457.
So we're on the same page. The social construct is not really the determining factor.
What was the purpose of it being created, though?
Well, I'm not sure.
And I've been saying that for years, that race itself is a social construct.
His purpose was
to justify chattel slavery. Right?
I do not.
It's literally documented. I don't care if
I don't agree to that. Okay.
I don't care. It's literally documented.
Okay.
So the point being is that this system was literally created to disenfranchise black people. Specifically, it's the structuring maintenance of a hierarchy which continues to actually create a free and cheap labor class, chattel slavery. Prior to chattel slavery, there were slaves, but they weren't based off of race. After the creation of race, they engaged in chattel slavery to actually create this free and cheap labor class. Now,
but I don't think it was primarily to disenfranchise black people.
It literally was.
Slavery was never about race. It was about cheap available labor.
Chattel slavery was about race.
Slavery,
chattel slavery was about race. I'm not saying slavery.
The perpetuation of race, the perpetuation of slavery was not instigated by race.
Why do you keep just saying slavery instead of chattel slavery? Acknowledge the thing that I'm saying.
Well, I don't really.
You know what the difference is between just slavery and chattel slavery?
I don't.
Everybody's potential looks different. See yours with Acorns. Designed for you to easily invest every day.
I don't really.
You know what the difference is between just slavery and chattel slavery?
I don't see that that being a major point to the conversation that we're having right now.
You don't think chattel slavery is a major point?
To the conversation we're having right now, I don't
The premise of
think
chattel
there needs to be a delineation.
it literally is.
How
Gomez
does that
Inez
affect
de
you
Zurara
today?
said,
How does that affect you today?
I got you.
Okay, let's get
Gomez Inez de Zurara said that these people were hypersexual, animalistic, they were the lower hemisphere, and they needed to be civilized. And they could civilize them vis-a-vis chattel slavery. Now, that rolls forward to where we are today. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you missed, but I'm going to skip forward.
What policies are in place?
Right now. I'm getting that right now.
That back up your plan.
These systems that black people exist in today that continue to disenfranchise us: medical racism, educational racism, financial racism. Quick question. I got you. Do you know?
I don't agree with you.
Do you know the black maternal mortality rate in the United States of America?
I don't know it, but I do know this: that black people have a disproportionate effect in that area.
Yeah, it's 50.3 versus the white.
But that's not necessarily discrimination, and disparities are different. That's not necessarily meaning that somehow the medical system is intentionally discriminating.
Literally medical racism. You gotta let me finish. 14.5 when it comes to the white maternity mortality rate. Do you know what the infant mortality rate is?
I do not know that offhand.
Yeah, the infant mortality rate is 10.8 versus white 4.5. There was a study that was completed that showed that when it comes to white babies, no matter who they're treated by, whatever race their doctors is, whoever they're treated by, they have the same possibility to life versus anyone else. Black babies, literally, the survival rate for black babies drop unless it's a black doctor taking care of the baby. Everyone else, the baby out of the womb, the black baby has less of a possibility to life. It's literally studied and
documented. Let me give you a perspective, because just because there's a statistical data point, you gotta work through the data points. Because what you're saying is that every white doctor is racist against black people. That's what you're
telling you. That's medical racism.
So you're saying. So are you saying that when you go to the hospital, doctors are intentionally being racist against black people?
I'm saying that doctors are taught through pseudoscience. Question for you: have you ever heard the myth that black people have thick skin?
I never heard of that.
It's literally a medical practice. It's something that's derived. It's something that's derived from chattel slavery. It said black people have less nerve endings and thicker skin. And what they said.
Where's taught at?
Oh, in medical school. Literally medical school.
Black people have thicker skin.
I'll give you an example.
Now, we gotta break this down. So when you go to the hospital today, they're gonna treat you differently because you somehow have thicker skin.
Yes.
What medical practice is in place right now that treats you differently?
They're literally giving less pain medication to black people because they think black people lie about their pain levels because they have less nerve endings. This is literally documented.
So you're saying every doctor is filled with racism. And so when a black person go to the hospital, they won't treat them fairly. They're incapable of treating black people fairly because they're black.
What I'm telling you is this is something that has been taught.
No, it's not. There's a correlation and causation of two things.
Can I give you direct information? There's literally studies. You think it's a correlation causation, but there's studies on this.
What about comorbidities? What about the health of the mother?
You're not engaging in the premise just because you don't know the information.
No. This is what you're saying.
Can I finish my point about the whole medical racism with the nerve endings? The thicker skin?
Go ahead, man.
Sure. This was something that is derived from chattel slavery. They literally use this as an excuse. They said you can beat your black slaves because they feel less pain and they recover quickly. And so they use this as a pseudoscience to say that this still happens today. Hold on,
Are black doctors taught the same?
Yes.
Are black people
cutting me
off?
Yes.
We gotta go point by point. You're saying the system is taught to anybody in medicine.
I have to pause it here. You've been voted out by the majority. Thank you so much. 3, 2, 1.
Alright. So, you're talking about 2026, right? Okay, cool. You want to say that these systems no longer exist in the way that they have before? But kind of going off of some of the other claims, there's a resulting effect that comes from the decades and decades and generations that have not received like fairness and equity. So when you say personal responsibility, even what you said, like I come from a neighborhood where some people make it, some people don't. It's not that. Like you have a low floor and a high ceiling, right? For white people, their floor is a little bit higher because they start off with a little bit more. Their families come from a little bit more. They might have better choices as opposed to better outcomes. And I think that if you
don't apply that sense of logic into the decision making of what you're saying, it's like you're kind of victim shaming people who already have one foot kind of like in a trap, and they're trying to run this race, but there's like barriers that's holding them back that have been there for decades.
Yeah, let me explain. I love what you said, and I think we agree on a lot of what you said.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there isn't disparity.
Right.
Saying that there isn't disparity.
Right.
There's clearly disparity. You would have to be a fool to say that there's not disparity in law enforcement. There's not disparity in what we've seen with the negative effects of redlining, which we could go into that. You can't. It's not that there's not disparities. What I'm saying is that these disparities that exist, I don't believe that they're rooted in systemic racism, and I don't think that we can't overcome them and become better. I don't believe that because, and then also some of these disparities, we have a lot of responsibility in changing these disparities. Right. Like we talk about a person's credit history, like that's a personal responsibility thing. We talk about our young brothers getting locked up in prison, the things that we're doing and how we're teaching our young people, the music that we listen to, all of those things are contributing factors that keep us here when white people are here on average. I don't think that
Bro, you can't blame that on the music, man. Come on. You cannot blame that on the music. No.
Back beyond what we've done to ourselves. That's what my claim is.
And I'm willing to say, like, you know, as somebody who come from a neighborhood that not necessarily a lot of people went the college route, like I got a master's degree and everything like that. I'm reinvesting in my community and helping people out. But I do think that there's a piece of that you said, like, all of this, blah, 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 and then you said, but. And I think when you say that without, like, an and, like, it misses the mark of having humanity for people who might not. Again, like, choices are choices. And if I grew up in a neighborhood where I didn't have, like, books at a young age, I didn't have after-school programs, my family couldn't afford a tutor, I couldn't get good lunch, so I'm eating the shit that I'm you know what I'm saying? So it's
let's keep that point. I agree with you 100% because you know I wasn't always Brandon Tatum, you know, making the money I make and all that stuff. I grew up in a very balanced perspective. Sure. And I understand some people don't start from the same place. You know, when your mama and daddy selling dope, your daddy go to prison, your mama get killed, your chances of dealing through trauma is much different than if you had a healthy household. I don't want to come across as saying I don't understand what goes on in the inner city community, and this is more about poverty. No, what I'm saying is this is more about poverty and race, in my opinion. When I was a cop patrolling poor white neighborhoods, they daddy wasn't there either. Right. And they were committing most of the crime in these poverty-stricken neighborhoods. Sure. Education was not something that was afforded to some of these people. So it's not necessarily just a race thing. You know, and I want us to get past the point of using it as an excuse to say, because we're black, we uniquely have these things that are holding us back. And I don't know if that's true.
But no, so I work with students with special needs, right? And a lot of times what we say when we have their diagnoses is it's not an excuse as much as it's an explanation. And it's like you have a reason or a rationale behind why something exists. And when you have that, it's like you have to let that seep into your thinking. And it's like you talk about the music or the movies or the TV shows, like it ain't, you know, Goodfellas and Godfather and Scarface and all these stuff with people who don't look like us, who, you know, we got power and, you know, all of that stuff like that. Cool, we got music, but don't act like we ain't seen Tiger King, you know, or, you know what I'm saying? And they was out there. Anyway, but what I'm saying is, it's like there's microscopic like examples you can give of all of these things, but if you just look overall with all of the systems, there's never been like an equitable amount of it that goes towards black folks. And I think that for that reason, you have to embed that into your thinking. And I think, again, your claim is not horribly off, but it's also like without regard to the reality of the whole holistic situation.
So can we come to an agreement on this? Is that we both acknowledge all of these things happen. We both acknowledge that it's not in part of some of the things that have happened in the black community. It's not necessarily just an excuse, it's an explanation.
Right.
But do we agree that it does not prevent you from becoming successful and doing those things today?
I think yes and which is again the practice that I like to do is a yes and, because I think that there are going to be people who transcend what life is kind of like put in their place. But I think for a lot of folks, like, it's just like if I have a above average ability, like if I'm 6'5", so it's like I have a leg up on somebody who might have also been the same level as I am in basketball or sports or something like that. But because I have height, I have a little bit higher of a chance. Like if I'm somebody who's from a similar neighborhood with the similar like IQ and all of that stuff, but my parents have access to things that these other parents don't, my outcomes are going to be different. And I think that's like you're saying it like it's an excuse, where it's not so much of an excuse. It's like I just want us to be able to have like some people transcend, some people go along with the, like we have a bell curve, like you have the people that's in the standard deviations outside of the mean, but like the outcomes over here and the outcomes over here are the ones that we tend to focus on, when it's like there's a lot of people in the middle who really just not getting a fair shake at it because these systems are in place that don't benefit us properly.
Yeah, I think that
I have to pause here. It was a great debate, but you have been voted out by the majority. Well done. 3, 2, 1.
I am. So I do want to isolate this cause, you think, of black disenfranchisement just over the course of history, because this thing I keep hearing you say is culture, right? But in psychology, we have this debate between nature and nurture, all right? Sure. Every decision, the patterns that come from different populations can be caused by either one or two things. It's like your material conditions, okay, this is the culture you're talking about, this is like attitudes, okay, and behavioral patterns, or it's like genetically, in some way you are different from other populations, like you naturally have less of an inclination towards success. So for black people, I have to ask you, which one is it?
Yoto Mini, the screen-free, ad-free audio player described to work with hundreds of Yoto cards. There's music for jiggling and podcasts for giggling, stories to get lost in, and sleep sound.
Ask you, which one is it?
No, I definitely don't think black people have a less inclination towards success because of some DNA makeup.
Perfect.
Black people do have a DNA, expression that makes them a lot more proficient in sports. I mean, that's an advantage. But when you're talking about, your point is very broad. Systemic racism. Does it affect you today, and does it affect your life moving forward? I do not believe so.
If you believe that nurture, right, is the cause, right, of black people acting differently, it's not something biological here. We have to ask, okay, when it comes to culture,
it can be in part biological. Generational trauma can be biological.
But that comes from, like, again, social standards, okay, issues that are replicated by the material conditions. When I say material conditions, I'm talking about what is around you, what is the infrastructure of your life, okay, what systems are you born into, okay, so if we can recognize that, right, is where the cause is lying, my question to you is going to be, again, where has this equalizer been, right, in the whole status quo between white folks and black folks?
Let's put it this way. I'm hoping that we can get to a conclusion of understanding, because you keep saying black people as if we uniquely are the only people who are dealing with certain issues and poverty. White poor people experience a lot of similar things as black people.
But not segregation and not redlining.
It's not.
Right?
But
hold on.
When I just told you when you look at the historicity of redlining, majority of the people who were in the red line district were white.
I can't wait for the fact check for this one.
92%.
I'm going to be so honest with you. No, black
92%. Listen to me.
Race was explicitly a factor.
No, it was not explicitly a factor.
Oh, it was, and I can't wait for the fact check to show
I hope they do. When you're talking about the
race was a factor.
From the HOLC.
With redlining, not only was race a factor, race and political ideology was a complete factor. So what she's saying is indeed partially true. That she said it was race, but again, not only was it race, it was also race and political ideology, because unfortunately, most black people are Democrats. Even though, in my personal opinion, black people should be independent voters. But I digress.
Corporation. There's a lot of things in my mind. When you look at the delineation line, when they drew the red line, that was after discrimination had already existed.
And what did the red lines do?
The red lines were more of a revelation of what was happening, more so than a demarcation that created it. Because they
Lies, Brandon. You're lying, Brandon.
That's why
You're lying.
Well, you didn't do enough. So some of these discriminatory practices by lenders occurred way before there was a red line. The negative effects of redlining affected white people and black people.
How about this?
Disproportionately affecting black people.
Okay, how about this? Let's get back to the cause of black individuals' strife in America. Okay? I want you to isolate again. For me, if it's not biological, where is this culture coming from? How does it happen?
It's like, for instance, when you look at black culture, 30s, 40s, 50s, it's very different than today. There was no gangster hip hop music. There was talking about killing and thugging and smashing every day. That didn't exist. Black families were intact at a higher rate. Black entrepreneurship was up. Education was prioritized in the black community. We began to see that degrade over time. So it's impossible almost to say slavery caused black people to be here. We're not accounting for the explosion of success here in the black community. And I'm saying that the degrading of culture, people falling away from God, not marrying the people they have children with, all of those contributing factors that are perpetuated by black people has caused a lot of the problems that we see.
When we talk about things like rap music, okay, when we talk about the hip hop and whatever, what is being talked about in these songs? It's obviously shootings, okay? It's like life experiences are what are being discussed, okay? And when we look at those life experiences, they're much more so being concentrated in black areas, in the 30s and 40s and 50s. Hold on. I would love to see the statistics. I would love to see the statistics on.
Was there Bloods and Crips on the 30s?
I want to get like 3 sentences out. So that's important in this debate. Okay, so once again, 30s, 40s, 50s, there was segregation. Again, we all know this. There was
black people still persevered through.
And that wasn't even one sentence I got out. Because you recognize that.
We got the time.
Yeah, we got time going down. And for us to be on the same page, we have to understand the same kind of history. So I didn't get any, there was no statistic or there's no kind of facts about the wealth in the 30s or 40s, 50s that you gave me. Which, well, hold on, right? What I'm trying to tell you, right, is that this disparity has existed even in those times you're talking about, where there wasn't any, expressions of culture that had to do with music. There was still disenfranchisement. There was still a lack of resources.
Right.
HBCUs were still underfunded in those time periods, and we saw that black people, for the most part, did not have home equity, which is the greatest way that you can essentially create generational wealth. That was all true.
But there's some of what you're saying is true, but I don't think it's the end all be all in success of black people today. Like, for instance, all of the things that you're referring to hundreds of years ago, 60 years ago, I'm asking you right now, do those things that happened then?
Being obsessed with taste means every ingredient has a purpose. Agave, water, yeast, nothing more.
Do those things that happened then have a profound negative effect on black people in perpetuity?
Of course, and I'll tell you why.
I have to stop here. The clock has run out. I'm so sorry. Thank you guys. In the final debate, Officer Tatum gets 10 minutes uninterrupted. There's been a lot of conversations here today. Officer Tatum, it's up to you now to choose. Look around, think carefully. Who would you like to continue the conversation with?
God dang it, that's a hard one. It's hard to pick. I think I had a few that I would like to finish.
They all got a lot of energy. They all want to talk.
I want the gentleman in green shirt.
All right. Do you have a claim?
Yes, I do.
All right.
All right, good to see you again.
So, Officer Tatum, why have you chosen Travanti?
Well, because I think he's acting in good faith. He seemed like an educated guy. We had a spirited debate, and I felt like it was fair. So I had plenty of people I would like to finish the conversation with, but I think this would be the best one.
My surrounded claim is black people do not support Democrats because of welfare.
Well, hey, I think we agree on that in part. I don't think black people supported the Democrat Party is just because of welfare. I think it's because of manipulation. you have not seen a single group of people disproportionately voting for one party in almost the history of this country like black people have, which I think is a shame, and it's the reason why the black community is devastated the way it is. Because when you sell your soul to one party, they don't have to do anything for you, and they haven't done anything for black people. And then once you sell to one side, the other side don't have a vested interest in doing anything to support you because they'll never get your support anyway. I would argue, and my whole premise with this is I'm hopeful that black people will begin to consider their own self-interest when they vote outside of party line.
So I would like to say it is not a shame. It actually proves that black people are smarter than conservatives give them credit for. Because the fact of the matter is, black people, well, let me ask you this. What year did blacks begin voting en masse for the Democratic Party? Do you know?
It began in the 30s and 40s.
You're right. Okay, so it began in 1930.
And not as prolific as it is today, but it began there.
So originally, African Americans voted for the Republican Party squarely because of the legislative efforts of Abraham Lincoln and the radical Republicans in Congress. They continued to vote for them right up until the New Deal. The reason why things shifted is because after the radical Republicans left Congress, the Republican Party stepped back and allowed the Confederacy to make a comeback in the form of the Ku Klux Klan.
The Ku Klux Klan was a Democrat military arm of the Democrat Party.
What happened?
No, very clear.
I'll be clear.
It was the Democrats.
I will be clear.
Against Republicans.
The federal government allowed the Ku Klux Klan to stop black people from voting, stop them from owning homes, stop them from social mobility that was up.
Democrat government.
No.
Those not Democrats. Those were Dixiecrats. If you're gonna say something, Brandon, say it right. Dixiecrats.
Oh, it was Republicans too.
No, it was not.
Listen.
There were Republicans too.
Of Republican presidencies after Lincoln was assassinated, okay? And guess what? That was when the Klan...
And in a prime example of the Klan expanding, under President Andrew Jackson, the Klan expanded significantly under the presidency of Andrew Jackson.
And became stronger and stronger and stronger. And so the talking point that they would always repeat is, we freed you, now pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But what they didn't realize is that you cannot pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you are terrorized through racial violence by the Ku Klux Klan. And so guess what? One of the things that...
Why don't you acknowledge that it was the Democrat Party?
One of the things that Martin Luther King advocated for was the federal government stepping in, and he wrote about this in Striving Toward Freedom.
What's his problem?
He said that they needed to intervene in local situations because local governments were not protecting blacks from racial violence. No.
Democrats. Now, let me say, the Republican Party was a...
He's in there trying to put everything off on the Democrat Party. The Democrat and Republican parties both have to take apart is a systematic racism. It is what it is.
Established to combat the Democrat Party from their proliferation of racism, slavery.
No.
100%.
Slavery, yes.
Slavery, yes.
No, but not racism.
Later, racism and discrimination against blacks. The Ku Klux Klan was established as the military arm of the Democrat Party.
No.
Democrats did not unanimously vote for the right for blacks to be free, to have citizenship, and to vote. The Democrats did not. Republicans unanimously voted for that. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're talking about the 1860s. After that, they did nothing.
The Republican Party.
They did absolutely nothing. Now, let me give you this. So, during.
Why don't you?
The Republican Party has only partially been behind black folks. They've only been behind black folks if it benefits them.
Where's that?
10 wings, $10. At Zaxby's, the math is mathing. Zaxby's 10 for 10.
Our real-time payments accelerate liquidity and deliver funds instantly and securely across key markets in the U.S.
During.
Why don't you address that?
What part?
That the Republican Party unanimously voted.
During the
And
1860s.
the Republican Party unanimously voted for the Civil Rights Act.
After
The Civil Rights Act
1868,
unanimous
they did
by
not.
Republicans, not
Yeah,
Democrats.
because of the efforts of LBJ.
Okay, we have 5 minutes. What has Democrats done for black people
I
in
will
America?
tell you.
Give
So,
me policy.
Right.
Give me a reason why
I will tell you.
a person like me would vote for the Democrats in
I
the
will
current
tell
state
you.
that they're in now.
Right, I'll give you
gotta
two.
explain. We can't do
I know. I
logical
will
thing.
give you.
I need you to answer that. I got
I
5
will give
minutes.
you 2.
4 now.
So number 1 was underneath Roosevelt. The number.
We can't go through this.
No.
Give me the policy position now that I should go for.
Guess what?
We're gonna do a whole history lesson.
No,
We're running out of time.
underneath Donald Trump's.
Okay.
Why does Brandon always want to move the goalposts?
Donald Trump placed 3 Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court, and they overturned affirmative action in terms of schools. That was created
It's
because
not necessary for us to continue in affirmative action.
It is 100%
not
necessary.
This is what holds black people down.
No,
we have
Really?
We have the opportunity
Really?
to work and do things on our own merit.
That is
we
not
do not
true.
need
I'm going to tell you something.
discrimination.
I'm going to tell you.
Brandon, affirmative action levels the playing field, you dummy. Sound like damn Clarence Thomas.
For us to be successful in this
That's not
country,
discrimination.
we're starting to
That is
discriminate
reversing
against
discrimination.
others.
No, we're
We're
not.
starting to discriminate
Then
against others.
why is there such an enormous wealth disparity if
Why
other
is there a
people are
wealth
being
disparity
discriminated
between? Why is
against?
there a wealth disparity between Asians and whites?
What do you where?
White people, Asian people make tremendous amount more money than white people on average.
Because of the
And
relationship
also
that
Indian
the
people.
United States has
And why do
with
black
China.
people? But why do black people, immigrants who come over here, are more educated? They have less crime. All of these statistical data points that immigrants who come over here do better, black immigrants, than black citizens.
They don't have the history of oppression in this country that we have.
What does that tell you? That tell you.
It
that
tells
at
you
this
that
point,
it tells you that the thing that is most offensive to white liberals,
tells
to
you
white conservatives, is the descendants of those slaves, foundational
It's
black
not-
Americans, whatever you kind, actually experiencing social
But let me
mobility.
explain this to you. This is my point being proven. It's not about color. It's about decisions.
No,
Because
it is
a
about
black
color.
Really,
comes to my
Brandon?
black person, a
That's
black
a
person came over
dizzy.
here from a foreign country.
No.
That is so disingenuous, Brandon. That is disingenuous as all hell.
And be very successful in race that are higher than
That's
black
not true.
citizens.
Those
That is
differences
facts.
are wildly exaggerated.
It's not wildly exaggerated. It is a
Yes,
fact.
they are.
Because there's no policy in
That
place
is not
right now
true.
that will stop you from doing anything that white people can do.
What do
Name
you
one.
actually believe that systemic
Name one.
racism is?
You're saying there's systems in place, or there's a continuation of either systems, policies that are in place that are.
There are.
Name one of them.
So let me explain.
Name one. We gotta make it quick.
We've already named a number. We've named
What policy
affirmative
stopped you
action.
from being successful?
I haven't been stopped from being successful.
Why?
Well, if you look at the data,
Hold on, let me stop you real quick. We'll get to that.
Right.
No, I just want to do a quick poll. Raise your hand if there's white supremacy has stopped you from being successful in America.
Second and third generation
No, I'm talking about right now.
Yes, keep it personal. Some of you can see, others cannot. I have a scar on my knee, on my leg. I was impacted by the healthcare system not supporting black women when my leg was broke in 2 places. I was on blood thinners. I couldn't have Tylenol because I'm allergic to Tylenol. Couldn't have Advil. They wanted to give me opiums, and I refused. I told them I did not want that. I told them I struggle with morphine. Do you have anything else to please provide me? And they refused. They only gave me the opiates. And they told me that I had to just go with whatever. Only to hear from a black doctor 2 weeks later that I could have just had a muscle relaxer. Those doctors actively chose not to do their research to find a better way for me to go through less pain. They decided they wanted me to experience pain from a broken leg. You wanted me to raw dog all that pain on nothing. On nothing.
Okay, so I used to work as an assistant manager at the mall, and I had a white manager, right? There was a huge discrepancy in the count of sales of the hats inside the store, and because I was for whatever reason, right, the target, they hired trained law enforcement to come and interrogate me under the pretense of first, like, hey, like, how are you doing? Like, how's your money troubles? How's this? How's that? Just to essentially lock me into a story where I was committing this retail fraud, right? They had at least 40 hours of store footage of me working my shifts where there wasn't a single instance of me stealing anything, but because I'm the only dark-skinned black person working in the store, they had someone try to come and frame me for a crime, essentially.
I'm currently getting my MBA from Berkeley Haas, and as a result of Trump's policies removing DEI and such, my scholarship was removed. And this has caused, in addition to his new policies, it has caused a cap on the loans. I'm currently financially struggling because I have to figure out how I'm going to pay for my next year's school.
Basically, when I was younger, there was an officer at our school who would always kind of interrogate me every day.
When the shelves are empty, the tanks run dry, and hospitals run out of supplies, someone has to keep the world moving. That's you. In Highway Heroes, you're the one coordinating the entire operation. Pick the right trucks, load the right cargo, and
would always kind of interrogate me every day. I never said anything because, unfortunately, what can you say when you're black and alone? You kind of got to go with it and just go about your day. And the officer was never disciplined.
Financial racism. I'm a first generation person to go to college out of my family. I had to fill out the FAFSA. I was specifically disproportionately targeted for predatory loans. I got into 3 colleges. The only college that offered full scholarship, which is an HBCU, the State College, University of South Carolina, specifically targeted me with multiple loans instead of offering scholarships. Later, when I started working, because I was low income, so I had to continue to make money and also go to college, I had to take on those predatory loans, which then put me behind after I graduated as far as being able to accomplish the next level. Specifically, if you take a look at the way that they finance the loans inside of the United States of America, it's disproportionately black people have these loans where white people get specific grants, even though if you look at the actual transcripts and the testing, they're very, very parallel.
I'd just like to say that the idea of us having to explain racism to a black man is absurd.
Yeah, it is.
I have experienced discrimination. The reason I responded no to your question was if it held me back. No, it didn't hold me back because I fought against the discrimination, but I was discriminated against when I was looking for housing, when I was trying to get my master's degree. One guy even told me it's not because you're black. When I saw a bunch of white people, he did not want to give me housing. I was also targeted by the police on multiple occasions. And then 2 weeks after Donald Trump became president, I was on my lunch break at my job and a white guy drove past me and yelled white power. He was emboldened because of Trump's rhetoric. And that I've been called the N-word just walking on the street multiple times by white people who feel emboldened by Trump's rhetoric. And so I have struggled against difficult odds, but it hasn't stopped me because there's something inside of me that is determined to succeed. It's because I want to help people. I want to be that person that I did not have. And so black people have striven against nearly insurmountable odds. That does not mean that there is not systemic racism.
Right.
So I actually wasn't going to respond at first because just like he said, I don't think that it held me back. But I actually had a full EEOC claim that I got fired based off of my race. And it took me years to get like my back pay and everything like that. And the basis is that there was like a discrepancy for like $35, and they tried to compare that to somebody at the same job who had did something for like $3,000 plus, and they tried to put us in the same basket when I just took the 35 on my wallet and tried to be like, oh, like it was a mistake. They fired me for that. But then on top of that, I came to find out from my coworkers that they had said things like, you know, they needed to staff the store based off of the demographics of the city, and that there were too many black people working in there, that it was like driving down the consumerism. So at the end of the day, it didn't prevent me from being great. Like I was gonna be great regardless, you feel me? So that wasn't why I wanted to speak up, but it happens, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not bad to say. You know, I'm gonna just stop because I see bro tripping, so we good. Honest to God truth, I have never experienced systemic racism or anything or racism. I've experienced a person say something racist to me, but it has no material effect on my life. It didn't stop me from doing nothing. This person call me the N-word while I was a cop, and
See now you sound like Anton. Now you sound like Anton.
It hurt me for 35 tenths of a second. So I have never had anything racist, systemically, systematically, that it prevented me from becoming as successful as I am today. Not one thing. Now, can I respond to what everybody's saying? I think that when I listen to everybody's statement, there is no unequivocal proof that what happened to you was specifically because of the color of your skin. And we are talking about systemic. We're not talking about one-offs. You guys are giving.
Oh, really, Brandon?
You guys are giving a scenario. No. What I'm saying is that the occurrence that you're alluding to seems to be a one-off thing. It's not systemic. It's not a system in place.
Okay, all right, Officer Tatum, I'm gonna have to stop you all. Santana, I'm gonna have to stop you all here because that's all we have time for. We tried something new, all right, so we are out of time now. I want to thank you all. You really brought your passion and your energy. I really appreciate you guys so much. Respect. Give yourselves a round of applause. Really appreciate it. All right, Officer Tatum, I also want to thank you for listening to everyone and being really graceful. I know it's not easy, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now, it's been a great conversation. Would you be willing to continue this conversation on our podcast?
Yes, I would love to.
All right, well, I thank you so much. And I thank you guys in the audience for watching. I'm sure you have a lot of opinions after watching this one. So please let us know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.
Well, y'all, that was it. Enjoy your night. Like, share, subscribe. See y'all later. Peace.